Welcome to Lorehammer, episode 43, Navis Nobilite.
Hello and welcome to Lorehammer.
My name is Swedish edition.
I am Kermit the Frog.
Oh,
this is episode
Swedish.
43. Welcome. Joining me today is Mark.
This is fact.
Hello. Also joining me today is Dylan.
G'day guys, I'm back!
It's just a weird energy. Always a weird energy from Dylan.
Oh, Kermit, it's been a long time. How you been, mate?
Holy shit. I'm scared. A little scared for myself. Joining us today for the first time is Steve.
Hello.
Steve.
How you doing, Steve?
Pretty sure
doing
he's
well.
Pretty sure he goes by Stevis.
Stevis.
Yeah, pretty sure.
You can add anus to pretty much the end of any name and
Steve Anus,
it
yeah.
becomes magical.
Where did Kermit go? I thought he was just in the room.
Kermit? I don't know. Wow,
Fucking
I miss
disappear.
Kermit.
We can only afford him
God
for so
damn it.
long.
Man.
I know you just entered the room, but I mean,
It's as long as we could hold him for.
that is the highest level of celebrity that Lorehammer has had.
That's-
Yes.
We blew all of our budget on Kermit.
Well, that's where all our Patreon money goes to is Kermit appearances now.
It was either.
I hear we get Yoda in at some point too. I think that's in the works.
Isn't that the same thing? He just puts on a hood and it's the same.
The same. Did they do like a Muppet Star Wars where he was Yoda?
Probably.
They must have.
I've seen like a meme of it for sure. But
Well, with the Sith robe over
yeah,
his head.
yeah.
The me and inner me one.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure it would exist on the internet.
It always does.
It always does.
Except when I looked for Friends, that didn't exist.
No.
I looked long and far.
Just,
Never.
just women flooding at you from this podcast. Just a never-ending river.
So Steve joins us from another one of our listeners, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was another guy who would listen to us. Mark went and hung out with him a couple times, and you were one of his friends. So it was like an acquaintance of an acquaintance. So we're starting to get second degree friendships now.
Yeah.
From Lorehammer.
You're starting to get big now.
Well, I wouldn't. Yeah, we are.
I think you can, get medical work for that to patch that up. I mean, you don't want to get to third degree friends, then it's like get a little bit.
No.
I think
I think there's a cream for that.
that was
Is
a better
it
joke.
is it prescribed or is it just over the counter? Like, can I?
That's Mark.
just OTC.
I can like wear a hood and. So I'm a little embarrassed about needing that cream. So
Fair enough.
You apply it in a very private location.
This is an interesting.
What?
We're talking about creams, Mark.
I only know about 40K. I'm out of my depth when you guys are talking about
Creams.
I mean, we all get to meet
Creamy.
Steve together. It's like
Yeah,
a whole
this
holy
is
reunion.
my very first time meeting Steve.
weird.
Actually, so
The energy you're feeling right now as a listener is true and it's original, and we're gonna see how it unravels as this podcast goes.
everything about this is fake.
Absolutely.
Don't lie.
Everything's live.
This is our fourth attempt recording this. So
There were 3 dead Stevens out the back. This is the next one we
They
get
have me
someone
locked
can
in their
get.
basement. Help me.
He's calling the police right now.
it puts the lotion on its skin, or else it gets the hose again.
miss Mom.
Anyways, welcome back, guys. I know we're a week, at least a week.
Just
late.
one.
Just one.
Yeah.
If this comes out Wednesday,
happened?
We'll see. Laziness, really.
Eric fled the country for
I
like
did.
2 weeks.
Is this the end of the podcast?
No.
No, the podcast isn't breaking up, I hope.
No.
So we're gonna do several episodes to make up for it.
I promise nothing.
I, however, can promise everything.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah, it's been a while, so thanks for holding on. Obviously.
Holding on.
Well, hey, I know that I know a
Each
lot
day
of.
we get messages. Like every day we just get flooded with messages. When's the next episode?
Can I ask you?
They're getting tens of messages every day.
Tens of messages.
Tens. Every once in a while, it breaks out into double digits, and then we're like, "Whoa!"
Can I ask you literally how many people noticed that you skipped a week?
This time I don't think anyone.
Yeah, I don't think we got. You might have personally, but I didn't see any messages to Lorehammer about.
So not that famous Steven then. Clearly, obviously, they're not at that level yet.
No.
Well, ever since Jordan left, we've been on a decline.
Oh yeah, steady decline. Well, he was the podcast.
He was the podcast,
And he was.
We're
dying.
limping. We're limping right now.
How is Jordan?
Alive.
Do you know that for a fact?
No, I don't know. I haven't seen him in like 3 weeks, so he might be dead.
Is he living a better life? Is he found everything he wanted to? Where is he?
Is he in a better place?
He's in.
What's his new address?
He's in Houston. right now.
He is in a better place.
Someone messaged me using his account, but it might not have been him. I don't know. Like,
It's hard to verify.
it's tough. It's tough.
It wasn't on FaceTime, so there's
No, exactly. Yeah.
So do you know what you're doing with that computer and shit? I mean, you look like you're struggling.
I am struggling. I don't
Yeah,
know.
fuck Jordan, where are you?
Typing things and hoping shit works out.
He hasn't even started recording it.
Just talking to each other.
But let's get into this. The first thing we want to do is thank our brand new Patreons that we have. We've collected 3 since we recorded our last episode.
Yeah, but one of them isn't a full-time donator. He gave me $5 cash, and
Hey,
he thought he was useful.
That's all it takes to be in our good graces.
Oh, well, I gave him some shit for it.
You did?
I did.
I would have given him $5 worth of a handshake.
What?
It's a hand job.
Oh,
No one got that. Because no one's ever gotten a hand job.
No.
That's
Well, I have
Play Warhammer.
Play
no one's ever
Warhammer.
gotten one for $5.
You guys need to come to my shop. Anyways, we would like to thank Todd, Luke, and Audun. Odun?
Pronounce Odin.
Audun?
Auden?
Odin.
Audun?
Odun?
All right,
Yeah.
let's all say it on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. That's the correct pronunciation.
Yeah,
we did it,
that's
guys. Yeah.
That's the one. Anyways,
We looked it up.
no. How could you know? You don't know what language it is. So
Sure.
it could mean so many different sounds and so many different. Anyways, thank you guys for contributing. We could not do this without you. So we could.
You just straight lie to people.
No, I seriously.
That's the type of
I
man
wouldn't
you
spend
are.
money on this anymore. I've spent enough.
$20 was enough. That's
It's
what you-
more than enough.
Need the people's money.
Exactly.
important.
If you guys want to be entertained, you give us damn money.
Current's back.
There goes our money. That's all we need.
That's right.
$500 a pop. That's all Patreon money.
But thank you so much, guys. Obviously, if you'd like to help, if you'd like to contribute to us to allow us to do more things, check out our Patreon. We accept donations for as little as $1 a month. If everyone donated $1 a month, we'd probably make like 16 grand a month.
And
That'd be
world
fun.
peace.
And that would be amazing. And I would literally quit school at that point.
Do you want to
and
stop Eric's
full-time.
education? This is how you do it.
This is how you stop it.
Yeah, I would do it. Fuck it. I've quit school for less. So why not?
Should I quit preemptively?
Absolutely. The only way we need to show people we're committed
Yeah, yeah.
to full-time Lorehammer. That's it. I'm quitting today. I'm quitting school.
Oh,
I'm not going back.
And if you don't want to subscribe to the Patreon, just throw $5 notes at Mark. And apparently that counts as subscribing.
Well, it'll
to
be
the
a
Patreon.
handshake at the very least. If you know what I mean.
Hey, oh, cheers to that.
It will not be. I can promise you it will not be.
kind of make them sound like a bit of a stripper, though.
Well,
I mean,
but let's have a little fun before we dive into the meat. Let's play Pictionary, but with words.
I got the perfect one.
Oh, perfect. So at this point, Mark is going to use 5 words to describe a random topic within 40K universe, and then all of us are going to take turns. Us, as in like me, Dylan, and Steve. We're all going to take turns trying to guess what he's talking about. But he's going to do it one word at a time. So he's going to say a word.
Okay.
And we'll go around the table and say what our guess is, and then he'll just keep going and going until hopefully one of us gets it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
It's going to be good.
Take it away, Marcus.
Okay, first word, hate.
Horace.
Nope.
Corn berserkers.
Nope.
The Imperium.
No. New.
Do you mean like new as in like new?
Oh,
like a new Games Work.
W. Yes.
But that's new as in like a new Games Workshop release, or new relative to 40K, like it's in the last 200 years of the story.
I guess we
can't
don't
tell
know.
you.
Right?
I can give you one word. Is what I.
Well,
can
what's
give
the
you.
meta? Like,
Yeah, we can't ask context. Maybe the next one will
All right,
reveal that.
fine. So
I can
Marnie
tell
is
you
Calgar.
it's-
So near and hate.
Okay, is that your guess?
Yes.
Marnie's-
Marnie is Calgar.
Okay.
No. It's
I was waiting for that too.
I'm gonna go with the mouse, the Gork's grin. I don't know the technical name for it.
Cicatrix Maladon.
That's the one.
no.
Abaddon.
No.
Have they shown what his new model is yet?
Bits
No,
and
they
pieces.
haven't. Not fully. Autocannon is the next word.
Fuck.
I feel like none of you are my friends. I feel
God,
like
no.
You've never heard me rant before.
I've had hate new Primaris.
I was about to say, what was your wife's name again?
Does she have an autocannon?
No,
She's a bit like an autocannon, you know?
Damn. Shots fired.
A lot of them.
Well, now that we've got that out of the way, and you're not going to rant about that? this
No,
episode,
that
then?
was the rant.
How do you
Oh,
feel
excellent.
about
Nope.
Primaris?
No,
Marines?
we don't need to go over that. You can literally check back any of our last 10 episodes,
Yeah.
and there's probably some mention in
That's a
there.
very conservative estimate.
Yeah. Well, let's dive right into the episode then.
What people came for.
Yeah.
What are we, 10 minutes in of rambling?
I don't know. I can't tell. I don't know how to read
It's the best
computer.
bit of the podcast.
This is what people tune in for. The Pictionary.
So, Eric, what are we talking about today on the podcast?
Oh my god!
I got a podcast.
I got a podcast. What's going on in this 43rd millennium?
Let's. Today we're talking about the Navis Nobilite. Nobilite is most likely the way it's
Nobilicious?
Nobilite.
pronounced. No, but these are the Navigators, the Imperium houses, and without giving too much away, I think let's just really dive right into it.
Where we will then give stuff away.
Right, exactly. I will withhold for all of 2
That
seconds.
is the purpose of what we're doing, right?
I think so. That's why you have a podcast to begin with.
No, all I want to do is tease people.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
right? I want to give them enough knowledge to make them wanting to realize how much knowledge they don't have, so then they come back.
We're just going to skim the surface of everything and then just leave it up to everyone else so they just tune in.
You just got to tell them we'll touch on that at some point.
Yeah.
You know, we'll release that episode at some point.
Proving how inadequate their knowledge is.
We actually
why
are.
they need us.
We actually will be saying that once or twice in this episode.
It always happens.
So, Mark and Eric, what's a navigator?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
The energy. It's
I wasn't ready for that.
Like the energy a navigator has?
No, the energy that you have.
the opposite.
Let's talk about the purpose of navigators, though. Navigators ensure that warp travel is as safe as possible.
yeah, because it's never going to be
No,
safe.
it's never. It's impossible. Yeah,
No.
They ensure it is as safe and possible for the Imperium, and that is everything in the Imperium, from Mechanicum to Space Marines to colony ships.
Free traders.
To anyone and everyone that travels in the warp, you're gonna want a navigator.
So it's a job. Like anyone can do it?
It is a job in a sense, but it is also limited.
You have to be born into it.
Yes.
Navigators have the ability to see and read the waves of the warp. So they actually, can see the currents, and that's how they guide stuff safely through.
And I think
And that's
that's
how they can get places faster too. They can just ride the waves there. And
this is like where I think the analogy of the ocean really is the best. It's in
They're
conjunction.
all the best. Anytime
this is
we
what-
relate the warp to the ocean,
This must be like the most accurate
Yeah.
comparison, though. Is
Yeah.
you have a navigator, you have a lighthouse, you have the currents and the waves of the warp.
Yeah.
and this is where it constantly is fed.
He's like he's the lifesaver on a beach. He can read the surf, make sure everyone's safe. He can get out to rescue people.
what's a beach?
Well, there's
We
this
got-
things
we
in
only got
Australia.
snow
See,
up
what's a lifesaver on the beach?
don't fucking remind me. Oh god, I miss Australia. Anyway, no, you're right. The ocean's the best analogy, Rex. They can literally see the waves. So
Yeah.
it's like how to navigate.
And not
that.
only can they see the waves, they also can see the light of the Astronomicon, which is like the lighthouse.
Yeah.
So,
So
and
those-
it's stationary, so they can use that to guide
Exactly.
as they're going.
Yeah.
through
Yeah,
the
sure.
warp.
As a compass, right? Essentially,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's pretty fucking cool. Like-
Using that as like a fixed position, that's what allows them to really create a safe passage.
Imagine being able to see the warp and what that looks like in your mind, like visibly watching the warp and what it would actually look like. You know,
yeah,
Like, that's kind of
wouldn't
cool.
it drive you mad
I
almost?
imagine it would be terrifying, like some H.P. Lovecraft kind of stuff. You just go
Yeah.
mad from looking at it.
yeah.
What does the warp look like? Only one person knows. You know, that's one race of people, whatever the fuck it is. But like, that's super interesting. You know, just kind of in your mind's eye.
To see
picturing
the
that.
true nature of the warp almost.
Shit, man, that's some dark fucking shit. That's cool.
The weird energy. Oh my god!
Oh my god.
Oh my god, what's the navigator look like?
Well, we are going to get into that.
Okay, I trust you.
But the first thing we are going to talk about is the origins of the Navigator and how they came to be, because they didn't always exist.
Yeah, but basically, when a man loves a woman, right?
Yeah, go on.
They have what I've been told is I've never done it.
I've heard of women, but go on. Yeah,
I've never seen one. I've never interacted one. But I
come out of
Apparently, a man takes his hee and he sticks it in a woman's hoo, and it makes a ha ha.
You lost me somewhere along the way.
wrong all this time.
But Navigators appeared firstly in M22, during the Dark Age of technology.
Or the Golden Age.
Yeah.
Golden Age.
And it's thought to be a consequence of many experiments at the time that were done. Like humanity was constantly like trying to push their technological prowess or whatever. So they'd do experiments on people. They'd build new machinery, and they're really pushing their technology.
Well, they were pushing the
Trying to
bounds of
drive
everything,
humanity
right?
forwards.
Exactly. Yeah. Through any means possible, whether it's genes, technology, whatever. But that's when they were first created, M22. And for context, like we play in 40K. We talk about 40K, so they've been around for...
The Horus Heresy was in 30K.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, they're an old thing.
18,000
years.
Yeah, I think right now though we're sitting in
thick.
like the 41st,
41, something like that.
Yeah, so it's a while. They are not a new thing at all.
Like M41,
relative,
98.
like they're older than Slanesh.
So they got roots. They got roots deep in humanity, and it's the role they've had in like going out into the stars, obviously, and the usefulness of them, and like they're deep. They've been around.
Have been absolutely instrumental.
Yeah, exactly.
Humanity could not have spread out as fast as they did if it wasn't for the Navigators.
As fast,
It's impressive.
Making warp travel safer.
Very
Exactly.
important. Very important.
Yeah, and like
right?
you said, like they've been gaining power. So from like M22 to M30, just right before the Emperor arrived, that's when they like really came into their own. That's when they like really started to like establish their houses. That's when they really proved like to like their influence with everything.
Kind of proved their value.
Exactly, yeah. Because without them, you can't really go into the warp. You can only jump five light years.
You
without a
could.
Yeah, just not safely.
Right. Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
right.
You definitely can go into the warp. They aren't necessary for going in, but you're running that fucking risk every time.
Tell us more.
Tell us more about this risk.
Well, during the Age of Strife, it was virtually impossible to safely travel the void without them due to the increasing unpredictability of the warp.
Do you want to like 10-second recap of the Age of Strife? Because you never know.
Basically,
Yep.
the Age of Strife was the time from M25 to M30.
Okay.
And during it, the Eldar were really starting to turn like hedonistic.
Yep.
So all their emotions was flooding the warp. And then it started creating like warp storms across the entire galaxy. So what ended up happening is it isolated everyone in the galaxy. So you could no longer travel here or there. Even with a navigator, you could no longer.
It was
anywhere.
just
wasn't
way more
safe.
difficult.
Yeah,
Like it wasn't even safe at all. You could not do it. So it really isolated people. And from what we know about like humanity, like they're like each planet relies on every other planet to kind of accomplish stuff. Without a Forge world, you can't really do nothing.
Yep.
So
Without an Agri world, your hive city will starve.
exactly. So a bunch of humanity, either the whole planet got wiped out, died, or whatever. So this is the Age of Strife when it's basically right after the golden age of technology when humanity spread across the stars. But now this is like their decline.
It's kind of
Like-
setting the stage for where navigators would then be useful. So this is kind of what birth.
Well, again,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they had them before this.
Sure.
Yeah.
What this was really setting the stage for was for the Emperor and his armies.
Yeah. And the dawn of
And
the
the Great
Imperium.
Crusade.
The Emperor.
But so yeah, during the dawn of the Imperium, so after the Age of Strife,
Yep.
the Emperor sanctioned Navigators as an acceptable human mutation. While there were many other human mutants that were sentenced to death because they were considered, deviant of
Yeah.
the human genetic strain.
Yeah. And we'll get
They
more
just
in-
weren't useful enough.
Not even
Exactly.
weren't useful, but they were like ugly and disgusting and
Yeah.
like considered like a stain or an abomination.
Well, like
It's
even
like-
the Ogrins are kind of tolerated because they're like pretty strong and
but there's also other ones that you're like, well, like if you had a third arm, right? Is that an acceptable mutation?
probably not. That'd probably
But that
get-
increases the amount of things you can do.
That'd
right?
probably get you blamed.
Probably.
And that's the conversation. Yeah, exactly.
But he just like it's one of those things where he's like, man, like we really need these for everyone else.
Yeah.
In order to push forward humanity.
Yeah.
So he allows it.
The lines become blurred, which is super interesting, right? It's like, hey,
Yeah.
you have a use, so we'll keep you around. It's like,
the Emperor is full of those types of things
Yeah.
where it's like everyone's all allowed to do it except for you, and it's like
Yeah.
except for you can do something, you can also do something, like because normally it's like purge the witch, but then he himself has witches working in his employ.
it doesn't make him. It doesn't
Burn
in
the
that- yeah.
mutant, like he has a bunch of mutants that he uses, like
He is a mutant, if anything.
he's a
There's,
psyker.
there's no way he's human.
He has these little hypocrisies, which make him
Yeah.
not quite godly. You know what I mean? Like it keeps that layer of
How
like
dare you?
mystery.
Did you just
Small G.
I mean,
besmirch the
small
Emperor?
G.
The God Emperor of
small G.
mankind.
Yeah.
He's a god, small G.
Little G.
Little G.
Okay, little G god.
Yeah.
Okay, we
No,
got
that's
a bunch of
fucking cool.
heretics in here. That's
good
good.
story.
Yeah,
Good to know where everyone stands.
I didn't know what level of heresy you guys
Now you
operated
know.
at. Apparently, it's way too much.
So, praise Gork. You have offended him in my name.
So the Emperor, he makes his appearance on Terra. He captures Terra. He puts a bunch of sanctions, no psychers, no mutants, but he allows the Navigators to exist. And then he starts the Great Crusade. And like his first step along the way of the Great Crusade was he went to Mars because it's the closest planet. But he made an alliance with Marge
Simpson?
Simpson,
Yeah. And
Naturally, the leader of Mars, the Great Red Planet. Yeah.
interesting.
Holder.
Maybe I should go read Lexicanum again because I am misremembering.
You fucked
I
up.
don't remember Marge Simpson.
You didn't see your model on Forge World?
But yeah, so
Tied with Marge hair.
Make a Marge Simpson dreadnought.
oh god. But yeah, so he goes to Marge and it's a Forge world, and he needed them to create all the weapons, all the all the
All the
machineries, all the
technology, the
technology,
ships.
exactly. So one of the ways that he not tricked but
Bribed.
the Mechanicum.
Coerced.
Yeah, exactly. Into joining the Imperium was he actually gave the Mechanicum 6 of the Navigator houses. So then the Mechanicum could actually then go out on their own once more into the galaxy. Because without the Navigators, you can't really do it.
How generous.
No.
Yeah, an interesting thing to note is that during the entire Age of Strife, Mars was actually sending out ships.
Oh, yeah.
And so during this Age of Strife, they didn't have navigators. Well, based on this, then I would assume that they did not have navigators. And so they were
Or a
sending
lot of
them
them.
out. So they were just sending out
Anyway,
these ships, and it's just, hey, like,
Sublate speed.
hopefully you make it. And no, I don't think they were doing.
No?
It's kind of testament
Not
of
sublate and then just have generations
can't-
and generations of people
Yeah.
on
You
the
just
can't-
ship.
They did have colony ships and stuff.
Yeah, but you just cannot like get very far on
Yeah.
it.
It's
Even in 1,000 years, you can't get very far using those methods. Like you can't go across the galaxy.
I've said it so many times. The galaxy is so fucking big.
Yeah, it's
Well, that's-
disgusting.
That speaks to the testament to the mindset of the Mechanicum, right? They're just gonna do it anyway because they need technology. They want to explore. It's their mindset.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so they made the Treaty of Mars with the Mechanicum, and they gave them 6 Mechanicum houses, or Navigator houses. So, they go on the Great Crusade, they do the whole thing. There's 10,000 years of history, but nothing really specifically for the Navigators. But they really just continue to, like, fulfill their role, gain more power, gain more money, and really just become this prominent thing in 40K.
It's like as big as the universe is in 40K, and as how important it is to navigate, like transportation, right? It's fundamental. So
Yeah.
you can imagine the amount of power and wealth and fucking prominence that they would gain, like
Yeah.
someone with that ability, how important they are to the universe.
And we're going to talk a lot about that at the very end of the episode,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
me and Eric have some very different views. If you could imagine,
You guys
me
don't
and
you don't get along?
No,
You disagree?
this
You
podcast
disagree?
has ruined our friendship.
Fuck, man. Well, I mean,
Wait, it has?
Oh God!
okay, spoilers. All right,
Shut
good.
up, Eric. I'm not talking to you.
Oh,
The words out.
you'll talk to Kermit the Frog.
Replaced by Kermit.
Where's my fucking check?
It's another $500. You gotta start coming in.
No, Kermit, don't bust my knees.
Close the fucking door.
So there's one other thing. During M22, when the Navigators were first created, it's rumored that the Emperor actually created them, because the Emperor is like billions of years old. Not billions, but trillions.
I'm sorry.
No.
Is he like 46,000 or something?
Yeah, he's really old. So it's rumored
But
that he actually...
he's been maneuvering and engineering things in humanity's
Yeah.
history forever. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
One
Like
of the rumors is that he created this gene in order to facilitate safe warp travel.
Yeah, and one of
and it fits really well, really.
yeah, because the Emperor created the Astronomicon.
He is the Astronomicon.
which is like the light in the warp, the lighthouse
that
or
they
whatever.
navigate by.
Exactly. So it's kind of rumored that he made this gene so they could see him.
Yeah.
And
It's one of those things like, hey, why on earth would the gene of the Navigator be able to perceive the light of the Astronomicon?
when there was no Astronomicon.
Right, and
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
like, is it a chance, or are there chances with the Emperor? Like, does he take chances, or does he like engineer everything?
He
right?
engineers everything.
Yeah, and everything is
So.
done to like his will and his.
So he created
desires,
suckers.
so.
He created suckers.
That's different debate.
Interesting.
He didn't create, but he definitely facilitated.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. But the thought here is like it's not confirmed that he created the Navigator gene.
Yeah, sure.
But I definitely like to think that he's pulling strings in the background.
Yeah. So one thing that you just said, like he created psychers, almost implying that navigators are psychers.
I'm assuming that that's how they use it. They're touching the warp, so I'm saying they got some kind of psychic energy, right?
Yeah, but they're technically not psychers.
Yeah.
So,
No, they're kind of something else.
yeah. It's
'Cause-
very interesting.
Wait
So
a second.
There's a really common misconception that
Start from the beginning.
Wait
go
a
back.
second.
Back it up.
Okay, so in M22,
there's a common misconception that psychic ability has to do with genetic composition. And there's not really anything in 40K that like corroborates that. Whereas this is specific like genetic engineering
Yeah.
done in human.
like if a psyker has a baby with another psyker, that baby is not a psyker.
It's not guaranteed to be a psyker.
Yeah,
It's not
right.
even. It's not even
there's
more
the-
likely.
There's still a chance, maybe, but
Yeah.
Sure.
But-
and the truth is like we don't know if that like really has an effect on it. Like if
Those
like-
bastards at Games Workshop has not given us hard numbers. I need real numbers that I can read.
Whoa,
What's
no.
the percentage?
Malkador
then we
was
won't be able
the-
to make so many podcasts.
Oh,
like
Keep
Malkador,
it
magnificent
vague.
bastards at
Yeah, yeah.
GW?
Not gonna what?
Malkador being the strongest psyker, human psyker
Yep.
to ever exist,
Yep.
right? Like if he had a baby,
Yep.
there's no guarantee that baby is a psyker
Sure.
at all. But if we could manipulate the genetics of that baby, we could create a navigator out of it.
Yeah.
If we were like, we can't do that anymore.
Yeah, fucking hell. I mean, like, it seems intuitive that in order to navigate
would
through the
100%
warp, you would
you would
assume you have some
assume.
kind of psychic presence or have the ability to do it. So that makes it more impressive that they don't.
Yeah, and
that's
we're-
like a
we're
whole
getting
feat
to-
of fucking.
We'll get into the really minutia difference of like a navigator and a psyker.
Yeah,
and
cool,
what makes
cool.
them a navigator.
Yeah.
But you'll see that it is a very common misconception that they are full psychers when they are not.
Ah, fascinating.
Yeah, they're not bringing out lightning at their fingertips.
What's the whole third eye thing, I guess? But
Yep.
I guess we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Navigator gene. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
So this is the mutation that all navigators have. If you don't have this navigator gene, you are not a navigator. Ta-da! What a surprise! Everything in the universe.
Pretty black and
Are
white.
you saying there's no trans navigators?
There isn't. Everything in the universe is either a navigator or not a
I
navigator.
mean, it's binary.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So
They're
the
not like
mutation,
navigator fluid.
the navigator mutation always manifests with a third eye on the human's forehead, 100% of the time. But there can be other mutations as well.
Yeah. And that eye on the center of the forehead is literally like an eye that can see into the warp. And that's how they can actually see the warp,
Yeah.
see the light
See
of
the
asteroid.
waves of the war.
Yeah, yeah.
So it kind of makes me think that it's not like in their mind at all, but just how we perceive reality. They just they see a different layer
Yeah.
of reality on. Like,
It's like-
you know, like those people who say they can see colors. Not see colors, see music. They
You
can
mean
see-
Yeah, there's a word for it.
They can see music.
No, I know. Yeah, there's a fucking word
smells
for
or
it. I don't know.
something.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But how they say they see things
Like
differently
a
than us.
savant or something like that.
Savant is a little different. Savant implies like some level of intelligence
Yeah.
that's increased.
They're not meditating and like having visions. They're like
No.
literally
there's
seeing
something
it.
wrong with their cones in their eyes that
Yeah,
allow
right.
them to see something
It's
different.
almost like how some animals can see different spectrums of light compared
Sure.
to us. They just have
Yes.
a third eye that can see,
But it can see a different
spectrum of light.
reality, right? Like because the warp doesn't exist within our dimension. It's like an alternate dimension.
Yeah,
Yeah, and this
Right?
right here is what makes them so they're not actually a psyker because they're not using a power. It's literally biology.
Yeah, it's
They're
fucking
literally-
fascinating. That's,
Yeah,
that's
they're,
cool.
they're not pulling power from the warp
Yeah,
to
exactly.
do this. They just
Yeah.
They just
have an
But
ability.
yeah, they
to
gain
see
so
it.
much power having the ability to do that,
Yeah.
but with no psychic presence. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking sweet. Yeah.
so that's not the only mutation though that
Well, before we leave eyes, I did actually read something today when I was having a bit of a browse. So the older the navigator gets, eventually the pupil in the iris disappears and the
yeah.
eye goes completely black.
Yeah.
Which is
That'd
just
be terrifying.
creepy as shit.
But there's also something else
Yeah.
that happens as they get older, but we'll get into that.
The dick shrivel.
Yes.
No, it grows. It just
You lose
gets
all
huge.
like a baby's arm.
Like a baby's arm holding an apple. Anyways.
So yeah, not only do they have the third eye, they also have tons of mutations. Like they're known to be like just filthy mutants. Not all of them, but most of them. Like some houses are entirely like scaly, like lizards and like shriveled and like
Like lizard fish people, fucking
Yeah.
weird fat things,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
yeah. Some
So
like
is this why they like to hang out so much in their chambers on the ship, their
yeah.
navigation chamber?
because, yeah, they're just gross to look at. Like, if they didn't have the Navigator gene, they would be killed instantly, without a doubt.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
They're filthy. They have fish hands. Like, they're weird.
Have you guys ever read Dune?
Yes.
So you know the guild, the
Yes,
guild
I know the
navigator.
Navigators
100%.
Guild.
That's what this
Absolutely.
is. So some guy read Dune and was like, "Oh my god, that's awesome!
This is
So
cool.
I'll include it in 40K."
Yeah.
right.
Sure,
one of the
yeah.
writers.
literally.
So that's like if you've
Ripped
seen
from
that
his
old
epic.
shitty movie with
Or if
David
you-
Bowie,
or if you read the books,
or if you've read the books, but the
Or
movie
if you
just
or
listen
if you
to
check
our,
out that new
sister
Dune movie that's
podcast.
supposed to be coming out in a couple of years.
Heard about that? Yeah, they're making it. Yeah.
But yeah, they are gross. But as well, even though there is that, there are some that are also indistinguishable from humans.
Yeah, yeah.
And so their genes, like they have the Navigator gene, but they literally look
Yeah.
like humans.
Just
than
wear a
their
hat
third
so you
eye.
can't see the third eye.
Yeah, well, that's actually really common.
Yeah.
They just wear a fedora. And it's fine.
Just a bunch of
Fedora.
bunch of neckbeard
Milady.
navigators.
Yeah. So the warp eye, the other very interesting thing about the warp eye is that it has the ability to instantly kill anyone that looks into it, and very agonizingly like kill them.
I think it's something like, I heard it described once as their soul is like sucked into the eye. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if I made that up or if I dreamed it. But it's like your soul is getting ripped out of your body while you stare into the eye.
I wonder if, like, looking into their eye, you can almost see into the warp itself how they can, and maybe just
Then it just-
just fucks with you because
Melts
it's just,
you or something,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just too much for your frail mind to handle.
Just get bird boxed. Just fucking like go off and kill yourself. Like it's kind of fascinating. It's like I don't know. That's weird. It's quite cool though.
Well,
yeah.
and like because of this, because like it literally spells instant death
Yeah,
for
yeah.
anyone who looks at it, they cover it up all the time. They
Naturally.
wear scarves, they wear hats, anything to cover it up.
It's a weapon.
Because of this,
Yeah.
a lot of
That'd be a
people
weapon. You
say
gotta
that
arm
it.
it.
A lot of people say that it's a myth. Like their third
okay,
eye doesn't
okay.
exist because
Yeah, yeah.
who's seen it,
Exactly,
right?
yeah,
Well,
it's
fuck,
one of-
if you've seen it, you're dead. So it's like I imagine like some idiot goes through Navigator and he's like, "You don't have a third eye," and the guy's like, "Yeah, I do," and he's like, "No, you don't." He's like, "Fuck, like, do I have to
Take
show
off
you?"
the turban,
so
go
he
on,
shows
take it
him.
off.
Guy dies, and he's like, "There, you happy?" Like, proved
Guy's
it.
on the
Once a year he has to
Yeah.
prove
and
himself
then you
wrong.
like steal his like mechadendrites and all his like robot arms and stuff.
Right, exactly.
Scrap them for harvest his organs.
Yeah, what a fucking weapon.
But yeah,
Jesus.
some people just don't believe that it exists
Yeah.
just because they constantly cover it up, and they're also very secretive.
Yeah.
Do you think it'd be worth it to try to weaponize the Navigators?
There's a reason why they don't,
Yeah.
because they're so valuable.
powerful.
That's true.
And, yeah,
That's
that's
true.
really
Oh, no,
important.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You can't. When
Yeah.
you can kill them with a las gun, like
Yeah, sure.
You can
It
just
doesn't-
throw 5 Imperial guardsmen at them.
everyone close your eyes. Eventually, you're fine.
With
though.
sunglasses on. Yeah.
Yeah. Another neat thing about navigators is that they are extremely long lived. Like they can live up to an average age of 400 years, and that's like before any augmentation. Like it's crazy. So
Fucking
it's
hell,
actually
what's the lifespan of an average human at this point?
like
Well,
let's say
what's the comparison?
Hold on.
Well,
you
okay.
can't. That's so difficult because
Oh,
are you
yeah.
including people who live
Yeah, yeah.
in feral worlds
Yeah,
or
fair,
hive
fair, fair.
cities?
like it's
or-
the same
or
as
people
us.
in the
Like
Astro
naturally,
Militarum.
we can only
Sure.
live like 100
100
years
yeah.
tops.
years.
You know, without
120.
yeah,
Fucking Supermax.
yeah, you know, and even like the last 50 years of shit. So
Sure, it's context sensitive and depends on the planet. So I
Yeah.
mean,
But
400
It's also
years.
going to depend on like your deviation because
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of like genetic.
So 400 years could be fuck all.
That's huge. Though.
no,
for
it's
human-
above
that-
that.
for
That's
humans,
huge
that's
for a
massive.
person.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the year 40,000, so who knows, you know?
Yeah, but you
But
can just.
I know.
All right.
I know.
No, fucking Mark
I-
Allen. I
I
believe
have
you.
seen
You
the future.
I'll show you my eye.
We've actually got an actual navigator.
Drops his pants.
But yeah, the older they get, the more powerful they get too. The more they're
Yeah.
able to read the currents of the warp.
So not you're right. Like their pupil disappears, and eventually it's just like this black eye. But it's also just is synonymous with an increase in strength. So
Yeah.
they can they can see further currents.
Yeah.
They can see better ones. They're
See the
killing
smaller currents, maybe.
their killing ability turns up. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
That might just be a lie.
Kind of crazy, yeah.
yeah, but due to like all these things, like they're filthy mutants. Like if you look into their eye, you die. They're usually very seclusive. Like they usually are just on their starship in their navigator sanctum, and that's kind of where they stay.
And they're just tapping into the warp and just watching Slanesh have a shower and just like in a private quarters.
I
like,
seriously hope not, because then I'd have to kill him.
I see all.
Another thing, though, to note before we continue is the Navigator gene is only capable of being passed down from two parents who have the Navigator gene.
Yeah.
Sounds incestuous.
Yeah. So when we get into that,
Mark and I were chatting about that because I was like, oh, like that's ridiculous. Like
Right.
clearly they're fucking your own sister, but
They are the end result of thousands of years of selective inbreeding, yes.
yeah, but it's not nearly as genetic inbreeding as I once thought.
Yeah,
Apparently,
No, it's not like Alabama.
wow, shots fired, Alabama.
There goes all-
oh, they're shooting at us.
No,
Sorry,
we just shot.
all 7 of the Alabama listeners.
We just shot 5 bullets at Alabama.
Oh.
But Mark and I were looking at it. Apparently, you only need like 130 people or something to create genetic diversity. And there are probably hundreds of thousands of these people out there.
There's like 4 or 5 different houses for the Navigators, so certainly
There's way more than that.
Yeah.
There's at least 30.
Oh, so certainly there's enough to make a freaking
Yeah.
You looked at
And
that
there's-
stat,
sustainable
just to be
population.
honest.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's
We
no
were-
limit either. It's not like there is only 30. There could be an infinite amount. And if you think about how many ships the Imperium has, each ship has its own navigator.
So there are
millions.
Sure, yeah, millions even. So it's not nearly as much genetic inbreeding as my first thought was, and
Yeah.
which probably a lot of people think.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're still fucking fish people. So I mean, like, what are you gonna do? Imagine
That
two
is
flabby
true.
fish frog people fucking each
But,
other.
there,
they
but there's
probably
also some
just-
that are
yeah, there's a fetish for that.
I
indistinguishable.
guess,
So
yeah.
It really depends. Like, so I could see like a Navigator house like all fucking each other.
Yeah.
Because they want to like keep the power within their own house. And that's
Yeah.
where they turn into stupid fucking fish people.
Yeah, okay,
But
okay.
some of the smaller houses that don't have as much like population, they might be wanting to make alliances with other houses to try to like kind of build up together.
Makes sense, yeah. Keep it clean.
Yeah, and like new houses are being created, houses are being destroyed. It's 40K.
Absorbed.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So that's a perfect jumping off point to talk about actual Navigator houses.
It sure is.
And there are actually 4 types of Navigator houses. And we'll read those off. Magisterial houses, nomadic houses, shrouded houses, and renegade houses. So let's talk about magisterial houses.
Magisterial?
Magisterial. There's an O in there.
Nope, that's an E.
It's a name. Do you need help?
No,
Do you need a hand? Do you need an education?
No, I got no.
We can
What?
wait. Sorry, go on.
I need an education. I was not giving a good education.
Magisterial houses. These have the most pure of the bloodlines. They've been maintained extremely diligently, and they are the least susceptible to mutation. So these are probably the ones that look most like humans.
Yeah.
Like if you're another navigator, like this is like the blood that you want in your house.
Yeah.
Because they'll probably make you look a little more human.
Yeah.
than
Kind of
you-
balance out what everyone's looking
Yeah,
like.
like the
some.
gross mutations that you have.
Would they necessarily be more or less powerful?
I don't think.
100% yes.
You reckon?
Sorry, do you mean like eye-wise or
I mean,
political?
like ability to navigate the world, their job,
No,
right?
no.
Not
Probably.
necessarily
I don't
more or
think
less
so that at
powerful.
all.
They're just going to look better.
They will just have the most
But-
influence because they're
Yep.
seated right on Terra.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, sure.
sorry.
So
That's
they
what
can
I-
Positioning. Oh, I
they'll
feel
have
like
the
that
most
kind of power.
political influence.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
yeah, legit, yep.
Yeah. There's one thing to mention too about houses. Like, we're not talking like in my house, even if I include like my extended family, there's like 50 people. Like, these houses could have thousands of members. in it.
almost
Qualify
like
it,
the
though,
houses
it
in
could mean
Dune.
that.
It could mean that.
It could mean just
And
your house
especially
and just
in-
your family, but it also could mean so much more.
Yeah.
Right.
And especially with these magisterial houses, they're a lot bigger than when we're talking about,
Like a
bigger
nomad
houses
house
or
or-
nomadic, exactly.
or
renegade.
renegades.
Exactly.
But they also are known to be the most traditional of houses. So it very well, the way I more pictured it was like a lot of times when a female, and obviously when they get together, the female leaves
When the
and
hoo-hoo
joins,
and the ha-ha.
and the female leaves and joins the male's house.
Yeah.
Right? That's like a traditional thing.
Yeah.
But I would assume in this one, like the male would be like, no, I'm going to join. Like if you're the magisterial house and I'm a nobody,
Yeah.
and we're getting married,
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
I like this
And
scenario
if you're
so
the
far.
female,
I'm really liking this scenario.
yeah,
so
I'm gonna
far.
go petition to join.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm gonna go join your house, right? Because you're like the famous house, and there's no way you would lower yourself to join any
Join the
other
filthy-
house.
filthy soul tech house.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't feel like the magisterial houses would really breed out at all.
No, but that's what they definitely include different blood, right? But
I
I'm
feel
Only
saying
good blood.
But yes, only
Oh,
good
negative.
blood, and I don't think anyone would ever leave those houses.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's got to be like some claim to saying like I have pure blood, right? I am actually blood related to that house. And while there definitely are examples of like houses not being blood related, I can see that as like I'm better than you because
It'll definitely have a certain prestige. Like, I'm from the Magisterial Houses. You're just a filthy,
and if you're part of the
filthy nomad.
Magisterial House, it's like expected that also your blood is much better and you have a much better genetic thing. So I do know 100% for some, they don't really give a shit biologically where you're from, but I can see for those houses who care, it is extremely important.
Absolutely.
Does the Emperor need a navigator?
No. Why would he? He's literally the astronomical.
Can he do what a navigator does?
Would the Emperor?
He literally steps into the warp and steps out of it at will.
Okay, fair enough.
Like,
So he
like
did-
on Moloch, he goes
did-
into the warp.
I thought that was like a gate that he entered.
On Moloch?
Yeah.
I think it's just real. I thought it was just really weak there, like the boundary between reality.
Yeah, there's examples of him like his spirit entering the warp. I don't know if it was a physical thing. I'm not sure about Moloch either. I think you're right though. It kind of was a gate.
Was there a
Yeah,
gate?
I think it was, but
I'll take a quick look. Anyways,
Would the Emperor have needed a navigator during the Great Crusade? Could he have piloted his own ship?
I'm sure he coulda.
Interesting.
And would every
Because like psychers can see into the warp, right?
And-
So hypothetically, they would be able to navigate a ship because they can see the currents. The problem is, regular psyker can't see the Astronomicon, which that's the difference.
Right.
But
was there the Astronomicon during 30K, or is
Yeah.
that the golden throne? I thought was the Astronomicon.
so wherever the Emperor went,
He is the
he created the
Astronomicon.
Astronomicon.
Oh, okay. So he's just
Yeah.
always projecting this light
Yeah.
into the warp with his spirit, I guess.
Yeah.
So if he goes on a holiday, all his other ships are going to crash land on his holiday and go, I thought this was Earth all along. And he's like, fuck off, guys. I just want to go to a
That's
beach.
got to be real uncomfortable for when his girlfriend is like, texts her like, "Oh, babe, I'm on Terra," and then she checks and he's on Moloch and fucking in the warp. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
What are you with? Are you with your side piece?
Were you with Slanesh?
Side bits.
Her 7 titties?
it was a gate. There was a
okay.
gateway into the realm of chaos.
Glad we clarified.
Which the Emperor entered.
Holy
Anyways,
fuck, that's fact checking right there.
Fuck me.
Instantaneous.
Fake news.
Wow.
Let's go back to Navigators.
Yeah, I guess.
So Steve Anus mentioned it briefly that they actually reside on Terra, and because of this, they are the wealthiest, and they do have the most power and stuff. Like
There's an area on Terra specifically given to them too.
exactly.
They're in the high court. What is it? The fucking
High Lords?
High Lords. Yeah, they're on the high lords,
Yeah,
right?
and we'll talk about that too. Like houses have different ranks inside the houses, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, sure.
Does it mention in the lore where the Navigator quarter is on Earth?
Geographically?
Yeah.
I don't know. I never saw anything about that.
Because like
Coordinates are 32.49.8.
that's where my house is.
I know in 40,000
prepared.
years.
in like 20,000 years, it'd be the place to be.
Yeah, if you hold on to that real estate, man, you can sell it at profit.
You were telling me about Saskatchewan.
You do need good navigators over there. You have to read the wind patterns.
Fuck. All right, let's talk about
that's
nomadic houses.
Yeah, I know.
These houses hold no property, having relinquished it in order to completely live spacefaring lives. Due to this, they're the most skilled of navigator houses because they literally, I guess, just spend all their time navigating.
So they're just on spaceships. They don't have houses.
So is
Literal
this
houses.
like the Black Templars would maybe have some of these guys for their Eternal Crusade or something like that? Where
Yeah,
they're
it's possible. Yeah.
Or like a what is it called? Like a space-bound Space Marine Legion, where they're just a space chapter.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
they call it.
Yeah.
Where they don't have a home world or a chapter world.
Interesting. Good comparison.
A fleet-based chapter, maybe?
Yeah,
Is that what
yeah,
they're
yeah,
called? I know exactly what you're saying, though. Yeah.
It's a house with no home.
That fucking head maneuver.
A house with no home. It's like fucking. All right. What? I guess that's the way they like it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they don't need. Why would you?
That's where the action is. They're always
Yeah.
doing stuff.
I guess they want to do their job so bad they just
Yeah.
chill in space.
Just get
Yeah.
a lot of experience.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So they become the most skilled.
I wonder if that was by choice or not by choice. You know, I wonder if they kind of.
I think it's
forced
six of one, half dozen of another.
That didn't make sense.
Well, I think they're like
right.
it's very equally. You could find some that were like thrown out of their house
Sure.
or forced to give up their territory, but also there are others who probably just feel the call of adventure.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right, like you don't need to pigeonhole all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too separate. I guess. I guess. I'll try not to next time, Eric. Thank you for correcting me.
You're welcome. Hey, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's talk about the Shrouded Houses.
What's a shrouded house?
They're also known as the Beggar Houses.
Oh, fantastic.
You can choose which term you want to call them.
Am I more of a beggar or a gypsy?
You?
You're a gypsy.
Little from column.
You're a gypsy.
What was the phrase you used, Eric?
6 of one, half dozen of
Something like
another.
that, yeah.
But I do like the way Gypsy House rolls off the tongue. I think it gives you like the exact idea what they're kind of doing.
Yeah.
Kind of more or less.
So these houses are in a state of decline, having lost some portion of wealth.
A state of decline?
decline.
Are they climbing?
Decline.
Yeah, I said decline.
A state of
I
Calvin Klein.
literally heard state of Klein. Sorry, man. I apologize.
Klein the tool?
Laundry?
That's on me.
No, it's fine. Whatever. For very well, you could have been right. Fuck the touches.
molested.
The goddamn touches.
I was
Molested.
just apologizing.
Lord.
What's a shrouded house?
Yeah, so they've just like lost some fucking. They're in a state of decline.
Yeah.
Have lost some portion of their wealth,
We got
political
that.
power, and like they're also getting more to the point where their genetics are like variating.
So they fucked up. Oh, so like
So,
you can get.
so these are where the fish people, you'll find more of the fish
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
Yeah, like the lower like genetic
Amoeboid.
stability
Rather than
you
fish.
have, like
Yeah.
the less influence you're gonna have. Because
Yeah.
like even though the Navigator gene is accepted as like an acceptable mutation, that scaly skin you have is not.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like how bad does your body have to get before we forget that you actually have the Navigator gene?
Yeah.
I'm like there are like locations on Terra underneath the Navigator's quarter where like there are these vaults, and that's where like the most grotesque navigators are kept.
Yeah.
Like there are some navigators that were just like, fuck, you're too gross.
Come on, bud.
to allow
that's
outside.
interesting.
Like
You gotta
we'll
shower.
keep you for your eggs or your sperm, but like you're disgusting and we can't let
Minus
you
the
outside.
keeping for the eggs and the sperm, do you think under each Games Workshop there should be a vault for the people?
Same as
That's just where the employees go. They,
Yeah, you know
they
what I
don't
mean?
go home.
Take a leaf out of the fucking.
There's like 3.5 bunk beds.
It's like a bomb shelter. Inside, there's like
dungeon.
entire walls of paint pots covering it. We'll never get bored.
just start eating pain.
But they've only got 6 dice.
Oh God!
So the shrouded house is
Horror.
just shit navigators. Everything's gone wrong, and they're kind of like fucked up.
They're
somewhere
not
along
even
the line.
necessarily shit navigators.
They're just on. They're
On the
losing
decline.
something.
Shit went wrong.
They're not.
Exactly,
They're at a
yeah.
shitty spot.
They're
Yeah.
not as powerful as Magisterial.
Yeah, right.
That's
So
like probably
do-
the main comparison.
Do you think these are like some of the navigators in Dune where they'll like keep them in an enclosed container thing and then just kind of transfer you from
Why
ship
not?
to ship so,
Right,
so
for
no
sure.
one sees them?
Like
Sure.
the thing about this is there's so many of them. Like I could 100% see that happening. Right? Like, does
That's,
that mean I think all of them have that?
No.
But
some of them look
yeah,
normal
if you
enough.
created a story where you said like it was so gross and grotesque that no one was allowed to look upon the Navigator, I'd be there being like, that's an awesome story. Like that totally makes sense for the feeling that we get of Navigators.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Eric.
Oh,
for once.
that's weird.
It was just
fucking
your
rat.
tone was very harsh.
They're very assertive.
I know.
Assertive.
That's why I was giving that
reminded
look,
me
like-
of high school again. I sat straighter in my chair.
I know he's fucking pointing at you.
Bring Comet back so we can relax.
Okay.
Thick tension.
There's $100 still. Come on.
There goes the budget. I'm gonna have to walk home now.
Yeah, so these houses they can't call upon the same resources. Like they're not wealthy.
They lack authority.
Exactly.
They
like-
don't have any of the influence that
Yeah.
the magisterial houses.
Which just
Exactly.
makes complete sense.
Yeah.
But they probably still claim to, right? They're probably like, hey, we're still important, I swear.
Everyone-
They're calling themselves
They're like
mega
me
houses,
saying I
right?
have a podcast. I got a podcast. Trying to throw that weight around. Like
Guys, wanna get on
when I
my
walk
podcast?
into McDonald's, like I'm pretty famous. I got a podcast. Trying to throw
They're
this
try-
meaningless weight around. You know?
Trying to pick up chicks. Like,
Same thing.
Yeah.
Weird flex, man, but all right.
Exactly. That's pretty much what they're like.
You bitches ever heard of Lorehammer?
I got a sticker.
Oh, that's how you get them.
They're pasties. That's what they are. The stickers.
Oh, God.
Scratch
Show
and,
me your tits and I'll put pasties on them.
scratch and sniff stickers.
They just smell like Games Workshop.
Sour sweat and paint.
You got a sticker to stick, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's one more type of house for us to talk
What's
about.
the last type of house?
So curious.
What's it called?
They are called.
Called what?
Fuck.
They are not called fuck.
Tell me.
They are called renegade houses.
These houses have been rejected by the Patra Nova, which we'll get into.
We will
who
talk
that
about
is
the Patra Nova.
on episode 48. So
wait
stay
until
tuned.
It's coming soon. TM.
So in another 3 years for our listeners.
Yeah. But yeah, they've been rejected due to, ancient tradition. Maybe they're just not traditional anymore.
They have rejected ancient tradition. And so the Patra Nova has rejected them.
Yeah, exactly. Or it could be conflicts with other houses.
They take it too far.
Exactly.
Maybe they're just too mutated.
Could be.
Exactly.
That's our last one, is that they're just their genetic mutation just goes.
Fucking need the
he
notes.
doesn't need the notes.
He's
Yeah.
on it.
You guys are doing a good job of just feeding me what I need. I did a quick browse over it this morning.
You're like, oh, fuck
Thumb
yeah,
through
this
it.
makes sense there, buddy. Let's go have a cigarette.
Oh yeah, boys. Do you have a dart?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
bud. Oh yeah, bud. Oh, don't
Going for a rip
boy.
there, boy.
Oh.
Oh, that was too noofy for me. Oh god.
That's all right.
Hey, bye.
The most Canadian person I've heard in this country. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of fascinating.
You need to go to the East Coast. Is where you need to go.
You need to go farther east.
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah.
Skip Quebec. Skip it completely.
Not worth it.
No.
All right.
Not a single person there is worthwhile.
And then just go straight to Newfoundland.
Straight to the rock.
On my trips through the world, I'll
Labrador.
make sure to skip that spot.
Go right to Newfoundland.
So renegade houses are ones that have actually fucked up. They've done something wrong.
exactly. And it's potential that they are just now they're dying out. There's
Yeah.
no hope of redemption for them.
Shit.
Like they've reached that point where it's like
What? There's no
can't-
redemption?
They can't pick up any Navigator chicks. They just don't.
Hey, babe, here's my Navigator card. You want to stamp it?
You want to see my third eye?
That sounds more
God,
like the Shrouded Houses are kind of in decline, not necessarily by choice.
Yeah.
The Renegade Houses made a choice that fucked up, and then they went
Yeah,
something wrong.
yeah.
But it all comes back.
Either the other houses don't like what they do, or they don't like what the other houses do. So they just
Sure.
they're like an angry
Yeah.
teenager and just get pissed off and move out.
Do you have an example?
No.
of a
Didn't you do research for this podcast?
No.
You say an
Have you
example?
been in a podcast before?
No.
You want an
I haven't.
example of pissed off teenagers? Watch Dr. Phil.
Okay, well that's interesting.
But it all comes down to the Patra Nova. He's the one who determines which houses are and aren't like renegades, right?
Yeah.
Which is nice because we're going to talk about Patra Novas now.
Yeah, the Patra Nova is chosen by the houses as the leader of all Navigator houses, and they most likely always come from the Magisterial, like the
Yeah, most likely, but
because
it's
they're
very
the wealthiest, they're the
They
most
have the most
prominent,
influence.
the most
It's the most
traditional.
prestigious house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it's
40K.
it's extremely possible. Like when we talk about how a Patra Nova is created later,
Yeah.
you'll see that it's completely possible that it comes from somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. It's 40K. Almost anything's possible except female Space Marines. So
But before we
Well,
get
technically, even those are possible.
before we get
They are
too deep
commonly-
into this, I want to go back to the Renegade house.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you think like Chaos Space Marines would need a navigator for the warp, or how do they navigate the
yeah,
warp?
they absolutely use navigators still,
But they don't have to.
but they don't have to.
Really?
Yeah.
So
We were
So
kind
do
of
they
like
just kinda-
talking about.
They just kind of like not have a navigator and just go with the flow and hope their Geller field holds up, or
yeah, and like if it's a particularly favored servant of the warp or whatever, that-
like Typhon or like
exactly like the currents.
yeah,
are
like
gonna favor
Abaddon,
them.
and
none like the Chaos Gods are not going to hinder Abaddon's
Yeah.
journey through the warp. They might even try and make it easier for him.
make him
Exactly.
throw some waves in way or something.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
They're gonna
But
scoop up his ship in the palm of their
but in
hand.
no way,
Where they're going.
in no way does that guarantee their safety at all.
Exactly. You're best to still always have a
Yeah.
navigator
Because there are forces in the warp that are not ruinous power related
Right.
that navigators can help you avoid.
True natural chaos.
In your fleet of ships, like
Yeah.
you don't just have one ship cruising around, especially for the battles. There, it's always like a fleet.
Yeah.
Does every individual ship have a navigator, or
Yeah.
can like one navigator kind of provide navigation for like a small fleet of ships?
Like I would imagine, yes, one could provide for the fleet
Because it
but
creates a
every-
bubble of reality around. So
Yeah.
if a ship is sufficiently large enough, it could
Yeah.
create a bubble of reality around, and then other ships are caught in that
And
bubble.
just
and
fit
just
in the real
literally
space
follow
bubble.
it. But every ship that's warp capable will have a navigator unless it's died by some like battle or whatever.
I
But
would
every
also
ship-
agree that like their Imperium's policy is that every ship is going to have a navigator and every ship is going to have an astral path.
Makes sense.
And every ship will have an engine.
And a
Well,
captain.
And a
those
coffee room.
with a blue chair in it. Yes.
I need to piss.
Rock a
That
piss.
was-
You gonna rock a piss there,
All right.
Dylan?
All right. Anyways, let's talk about Patra Nova.
Yeah, the Patra Novas, they are commonly the most powerful of the navigators. their power has grown beyond what is publicly known.
Yeah, so like, and all that means is like we don't fully know what the Patra Nova is capable of because their power just seems to grow and grow and grow beyond.
Yeah,
Their
what is
powers,
capable.
whatever Games Workshop needs them to do in whatever story they're in.
Yeah, that seems more to be what it is. It's
They've got
what
that
author-
Deus Ex Machina power.
Yeah, it's like if the author is writing about the Patra Nova, like what are they going to say that he or she is doing today?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you never know.
But like some of the things that Patra Novas have.
Sorry, you didn't mention how they're chosen.
We're getting there. I don't think we've got to that point.
It was just the very first point.
List.
No, I said that
Oh,
at some
okay.
point in time. We'll get back to it if not.
We'll loop back. We'll loop back to it in another episode.
Yeah, exactly. One episode in and you already know how the whole thing works. Now I can finally get rid of Eric.
You just kick the can down the road. That's what the podcast is. Just keep kicking that can.
So yeah, they have some crazy powers. Like they're known to be able to survive the vacuum of space. And keep in mind, they're not.
Chill underwater.
Yeah,
The poisonous gases, stuff like that.
exactly. Like they're wild. Like they're
It's like Space Marine level of shit.
yeah. And keep in mind, like all this stuff is. They're not psychers. They're not using psychic powers to survive the vacuum of space or breathe underwater or survive underwater. Like
It's biology.
So if
It's some type of weird
If you
biology.
just said, do you think they could make a Navigator into a Space Marine? If that's something that the
Imagine
Empire was
that.
inclined to do, I imagine they could.
Eric is furiously shaking his
Yeah.
head.
The
I'm
ability
getting
to
a hard no.
The ability to absolutely, the Imperium has the ability to. They would not waste a Navigators risking their life on them not surviving the trials of
Makes
becoming
sense.
a Space Marine.
That's true.
There's too many
Space
lives are
Marines
lost creating Space Marines
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you just throw bodies at them, right? Whereas these guys are way too valuable.
Way too valuable
people,
for that.
People think like Space Marines are like the top, but really like they're small, concentrated force, really good, designed for
elite.
one purpose, but honestly, like if we took all the,
Honestly, they're a relatively small force
It's
compared
small,
to like
and
orcs.
you
or
can
the
go
Astra
your entire
Militarum.
lifetime and not
Yeah.
ever see a Space Marine.
and if we just took all the, this is going to be good.
Oh, the what?
No, if you just took all the people that died in order to create Space Marines and threw them in the guard,
Might be okay.
it might be you might be able to do without Space Marines.
Here's my point.
Hold the fucking phone.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, that was a ridiculous claim. But I wonder
right?
how many over the galaxy, how many people died to create a
Probably
Space
not.
Marine.
Because-
Yeah, but how many Imperial Guardsmen die when you could just throw in like 2 Space Marines and then wipe
yeah.
out whatever they're trying to do?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
It's Space Mariner is a very specific key to a very specific lock, and a million Guardsmen is still the wrong key. You know what I mean? So it's like it doesn't
Well, it's too
matter.
much.
Yeah.
It's too many.
Yeah.
Here's my thought too that you kind of said to create a Space Marine, a bunch of guardsmen or a bunch of people die to create a Space Marine. And the main reason for that is genetic testing. You have to have the right genetics to become a Space Marine, and I almost guarantee you a Navigator will not have that right genetic
Because there's too
code.
much genetic
Valid.
variation.
There's too much mutation going.
Exactly.
Even the what are the ones?
Maybe
that
not
are
the
in
Magisterial.
Even I bet you in them there might be a little too much mutation going
yeah,
on for
there
the
might
Emperor's
be.
gifts.
Yeah,
There might
obviously,
be,
who's to say except for Games
they're
Workshop,
probably more
but-
mutated than your average human.
Yeah.
What would you say about someone creating a story where there was a Space Marine that was a Navigator?
I would say no.
No?
No.
Why would that not interest you?
Just because it's like, why? What? How?
Well, it's just combining powers.
No, I know, but
like you
like-
make something that's even more powerful than
No, I know.
either,
It's-
and then
it- to
either
me-
alone.
Yeah, like
that
lives
almost
longer?
seems like. So it seems
Lives-
like. Sorry. go
Lives
on.
longer, becomes more powerful, has more natural abilities because Space Marine's generally more powerful. So it's like a happy marriage to the both, right?
Well, Space Marines are functionally immortal anyway.
I mean, I guess, yeah. So I mean,
Al-
turn that
almost
into a Navigator.
there.
Imagine a 1,000-year-old
Dante
Navigator,
from the
right?
Blood Marines is getting pretty
Well,
old.
Blood Angels are actually
Or,
known
sorry,
to
Blood
live
Angels.
longer than any other Marine anyway. So
I would say that would be a silly story. It just is like, oh, so like, how did the Space Marines recruit him? Did they find like? There's just too many pieces to that puzzle where it can go so wrong and just so janky.
well, I
And
think
how
I think
many
a really
Space Marine
easy.
chapters are even would be fond of a mutant with even just like an extra
Yeah.
eye on your forehead.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I could definitely more see it as like a heretical thing, like some chapter in the middle of nowhere.
Chaos Space Marines.
Less that and more just like, man, I'm willing to like leave the codex for this because my chapter has 4 Marines in it. You know, I'm not picky. I'm taking everything I can. I mean,
Yeah.
like personally, I don't think I'd write that story. I think there's a place for everything except for some things.
Females.
Marnius Calgar.
I know what you're talking about.
But I don't know. I wouldn't mind reading someone that. And I think if it was well done, I probably would enjoy the story.
I think it'd be a cool story if Fabius Bile was doing some experimenting and maybe captured some navigators.
Anything chaos related is easy to get away with,
that's true.
right? Like, but I think it would be much harder to find like an Imperium story that I thoroughly was like, wow, well done, you know?
Yeah. So our stance on it is
Mostly no.
it's possible.
Sure.
We would read it, but we probably wouldn't like it unless it's really well written. Like,
I'm gonna like that as well as I am about Sanguinius coming back to life.
oh, fuck that shit.
Right? That's about where I'm gonna equate those two things.
So what we're hearing is you would prefer the lore without Space Marines. You think you'd just prefer more God. That's where you land, Eric.
Yeah.
You just want to do with. You just prefer if Warhammer didn't have Space Marines.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's the point of having Space Marines? What have they done but ripped the entire galaxy?
It's a valid point.
That is exactly what they're supposed to do.
Which is
That's why he created them to rebel against himself.
No, to rip the galaxy in half.
Did this just become a Space Marine episode?
Fuck it, hijacked. Anyways, no, we were talking about Patra Nova, and we went over their abilities to survive in crazy things. But there's also another thing, and this is much more on a psychic level that has allowed to happen.
And it's not explained, but somehow the Patra Nova has the ability to manipulate the powers of all the navigators in the entire galaxy.
Every navigator that exists in the entire galaxy.
And has that ability to amplify it. So there's examples of when the Patra Nova dies, all the navigators like kind of can't function for
diminish
a while.
a little bit.
Yeah, but it's weird because as much as we say like they're not psychers and they don't have like they can't use psychic powers, there is a connection.
A psychic link.
There is one.
So here's my thought.
Is this almost like Orky energy almost, where there's kind of a link between all of them, but it's not psychic energy, but there's an energy linking them?
There might be.
But orcs are so much
But
more...
like a similar thing.
Orky energy is maybe a poor word to use.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, like something like that.
Yeah, like a separate energy, separate from the warp that links all of them.
To me, it's got to be warp related.
Yeah.
If there's something else that humanity has managed to tap into, like I think that it would become something that like, hey, now we have to create like this is another threat now because it's another thing we don't understand.
It just fucking smells of Psycho. Jesus Christ!
So,
like it just smells of it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so here's the thing: like the Patra Nova, like he gets all these extra abilities when he becomes a Patra Nova. Maybe he becomes a psyker.
Interesting.
A psyker.
Yeah, maybe.
Where no other
a psyker navigator.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
well, he doesn't actually navigate anymore.
No, he's probably
So
retired.
what's his role then if he does that?
He's like
We're talking about it.
I mean, okay.
He's kind of like the spiritual leader of the navigators.
Jesus Gator.
Bolsters their power.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it is possible that when he becomes a Patra Nova, he turns into a psyker himself, allowing him to do this. But we don't know. Games Workshop hasn't even written on it.
Which is okay.
Oh, I like when they don't because we just have 5-10 minute conversation about what we think.
Gives us a chance to make shit up about it.
Exactly.
It's even possible that something else we're going to talk about, the heirs apparent. Like it's even possible that those guys, once your powers stretch to some point, like you just become as like it's almost like navigators like skim the warp, right?
Ooh, like Tau.
Kind of like Tau.
You just kind of dip their toes.
Like if there's like a film on the warp, like they dip their finger in, and when they pulled it out, their finger isn't wet, but it was in the warp, right?
But it's a tentacle,
right? But like the Patra Nova is able to like break into the warp and actually become. It's like I don't know. It's just because you do see a progression of abilities, right? And it doesn't make. To not have that warp related seems a little too crazy. Like we're not
when
like
everything else
we're not
they
like
do
Tyranids.
is so warp related.
Yeah.
Right, because
That's a good comparison.
Tyranids,
that
they
was maybe-
actually have genetic growth.
Yeah.
Right, like when you talk about patriarchs and gene stealer cults, right? Or you have things that come down and they just grow things that due to necessity. But that's not really what this is. The Navigator gene seems to change them. Sure, some biologically, some physically, but it is much more of like a non-physical thing. Yeah. Like for a regular navigator whose powers grow, that is much more non-physical than it is physical.
Are you writing this down?
Correct.
What? Yeah. I've been writing
Chats
every
comes
note.
We're being schooled here.
I don't know. It's just
I'm actually a courtroom stenographer, so it's all good.
are you actually?
Fuck no.
Blow my mind. But while they aren't psychers,
Yeah.
there is a psychic connection.
Sure.
And you can't deny that.
Yeah.
It's a weird line. Yeah. I mean, when you're that powerful.
Yeah.
But it only gets crazier.
So another thing that the Patra Nova is known for is he actually has a seat on the High Lords of Terra.
Oh, we touched on that. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
makes 100% complete sense.
Sure.
They are one of the most instrumental things for the Imperium.
Like,
in
most-
its current function.
One of the most influential people in the Imperium.
Yeah, exactly. How many High Lords are there? Like 13 or something? 14?
13's an evil number. Surely
So
it's
then-
12.
I think it varies.
There's actually 13, but they just don't call the 13th the 13th.
Triska
The
Decaphobia.
13th is the guy from the Navigators. He's like an honorary member.
yeah. And yeah, so he's on the High Lords of Terra, which is crazy. And the final duty, or one of the final duties, that he has a wide range of duties, but one of the final duties is he gets to train up the heirs apparent.
His replacement.
That's what I was asking before. What does he actually do?
Yeah.
Like, so his duties is that word for that. Yeah.
one
One
of
of his
his-
most important duties is to train the heirs apparent.
Well, I would say if it's not that, then it's the fact that he amplifies the ability of all the other ones. Like,
Yeah.
the heirs apparent, they're actually just going to rise up at any point. Right,
Yeah.
I could see them functioning without him, but man, if the Patra Nova disappears, all of the Navigators are screwed.
What does this dude look like?
He's massive.
Is he heavily
So
mutated?
is he going to be
or
like
not?
Arnold Schwarzenegger?
no, like
massive, or
much
just like-
bigger.
Is he heavily mutated or not?
He is mutated, but
Okay.
so one of the we'll get into more into heirs apparent because the Patra Nova was an heirs apparent, and there's some
okay.
changes that happens as you progress through the heirs apparent ranks. But
Yeah.
before we do that, there are 12 High Lords of Terra. They're called the High 12.
12,
but
right, I was
they
right, yeah,
they very rarely meet. At some point, we're going to do an episode on the High Lords of Terra.
All of them.
That'd be cool.
No,
Your,
just
your
on like the
podcast
Senate. On the
kind of
Senate.
sounds like
Yeah.
the High Lords of Terra very rarely meet.
Oh,
I'm gonna put them all in a ring and see who comes out on top. Would it be this guy? I don't know.
probably. Oh, maybe.
We'll have to go through that
just
on the
look at
Highlands of
everyone.
Terra.
There's got to. There's
We'll discuss it in a
Anyway,
future
yeah,
episode.
That's way. It's a rabbit hole. Yeah.
Okay. But now let's. So we said one of his final duties is to train heirs apparent. Let's talk about heirs apparent.
What's an heirs apparent? What does that mean?
Well, Dylan, they're
Tell me,
drawn
Mark.
from the great
Dylan.
families. Their
Oh, yeah?
title given to the strongest of each of the potential.
Someone's gonna skip.
Yeah, so-
What?
Someone's gonna skip like first time listener.
Do you want to just put like footnotes in so you can just skip this part with the accents?
Unsubscribe to and they'll follow my podcast. That's what it will be. I don't have a
Just skip the
podcast.
next
Like
5
I'm
minutes
watching
if
these
you want to skip
levels
this.
and they seem way too fucking high.
Ah!
Why would you do that?
I'm
They're
sorry
poor
for you people in your
eardrums.
earphones.
Yeah, God, that's rude, Mark. That was very rude.
You're going to get like 3 emails about people who had earphones in.
block.
Oh, cute girl. Block.
Because I'm
She's not Warhammer.
Yeah.
Well, there's no cute girls on the internet.
That's true.
Are we toasty in here? I'm pretty toasty.
Yeah, it's
I'm pretty fucking hot.
Far left button.
Okay,
go.
let's talk about heirs apparent. So they are drawn from all the great families, and Mark and I had a little discussion of what great families meant as opposed to families, but we were pretty sure it just means anything.
Tame word for great. Or
I took it as the like more of the magisterial houses, less from the renegades, not so much from the nomads.
So the reason
Probably-
why I think that might be wrong only is because it has everything to do with strength, right? And so think of it like if someone is sufficiently rich, they can get into Yale.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you're a rich family, you're going to send all your kids to Yale, regardless of education or ability. But if you're sufficiently smart, you can get in on sponsorships, right? And that's more of how I see this happening. Like,
I guess
they
it'll-
want strength above all else.
It's a good comparison.
Right? Because
yeah.
you need, like, in order to be like the Patra Nova, you have to be strong.
You have to be the best.
And of course. So I definitely believe there is some like finagling. Like I assume that the Magisterial Houses.
There's like scholarships the navigators can get on.
maybe not exactly, but yeah.
You guided your ship through 50 warp jumps. You get a
Well, think about this: like the nomadic houses, those are considered the most skillful.
Yeah,
So
they have
would
the
it be
most-
worth it to like disregard all of those just because they're not
of course
magisterial?
not.
I guess it depends on what you would call a great house as opposed to a regular house.
Which
of
yeah, which
navigators.
is why I thought their use of like great family or great house was dumb here, because I assumed when I was reading it like they're all technically great houses, because if you look at them outside of the purview of navigator houses and you just say like there are houses on Terra, right? There's going to be some that aren't navigator houses, but they're still well known and established families and genetics. But like navigators have a house and a purpose. And so these are like great houses.
So
'cause they
it's
actually serve
subjective,
it.
and obviously they're looking at Australia. And obviously
Yeah.
you can get the Oprah Winfrey of navigators that grew up on nothing and became a billionaire. right?
Exactly.
So,
So
like, it's the same thing.
I think it can come from anywhere, but I do think there's a higher representation from the magisterials.
But yeah, they just have more influence to get their guys.
Makes
in.
sense.
Yeah.
But either way, they're the oldest and the strongest navigators.
Heirs apparent. So
where
how
are
many
we?
heirs
They're kind
apparent
of
are
like
there?
trust fund babies.
Not a, yeah.
How many? Yeah, how many are there?
Heirs apparent. I did not read a specific number on how many there could possibly be. I think it all
Kind of
has,
sounds like it just some are produced.
Is it like one per house?
well, they're supposed to be. Like from what I was reading, it was like you send a representative
Yeah.
of your house to be an heirs apparent.
Right, right. And then they compete against each other or something like that.
Yeah, especially because there is so much competition.
Yeah, it
It's
makes
just,
sense.
I don't know if it made sense to have like you wanting to kill your brother, but I can also see scenarios
Kill
where you
your
would want to
brother?
do that. I don't know.
What?
So from what I could read, it didn't seem like there was anything that said there can only be
Yeah,
one
there's
per
like
house.
no laws written down
Yeah.
or nothing like that.
I don't know.
Oh, I maybe misinterpreted it. I thought like the guy was going around and like inspecting people. I'm like, oh, you're one, and there's like something that they had that your average navigator didn't. So it was, what's this guy's name?
The Patra Nova?
The Patra Nova. I thought the Patra Nova was going around and just kind of looking through his navigators, going, "You've got whatever it is. You've got it.
Hold on. It says
You've got it."
drawn from all the great families, this title is given to the strongest of each, with the potential of becoming the next Patra Nova. So that would imply that it's from each family, right? So the Patra Nova's gone. You're from that family. You're from that family. He's got his little fucking posse of hair.
But it
bears.
also like you very well could be right.
Yeah.
I didn't read anything that disproves that. But I also kind of saw it as like houses could submit someone, right?
Sure.
Like this one has potential, right? This one we think is like the culmination of perfect genes and the bloodlines. that
Almost
we-
like your champion, kind of. You're gonna send him out.
yeah, you submit him to the Patra Nova, and then the Patra Nova is expected to like encourage growth and teach all his heirs apparent. Like if you've read something that says that he goes and specifically picks them, I'm sure like that makes
Well, he
complete
was
sense.
right on Moloch, so I'm going to trust him on this.
Yeah, but yeah, I could see either.
Starting to sound
really.
like you when you play 40K. Just trust you enough that we don't even question it anymore.
Don't do that. 100% don't do that. You better question him on every fucking rule.
No. Rules, yes. Stat lines, fucking solid.
He's pretty good on those.
Stat lines.
But when he tries to Overwatch with all his tanks on Tau, you need to
you
start
want to know,
questioning.
you want to know why that happened?
Why?
Because I only ever looked at Longstrike's profile. Because I'm like,
okay.
Longstrike's profile is literally the exact same as all the other tanks. So why would I go look at a Devilfish
Sure.
and a Hammer? You know?
Why would I know all my army?
Yeah.
That doesn't
so I
make
just
sense.
I'll just
I
memorize
see-
my best unit and play them all the same as that.
So yeah. Well, I'd love to talk about Mark and his Tau after this.
Well, Eric, I got a question for you.
What's up?
What happens when a Patra Nova dies?
Here we
Thanks for
go.
keeping us
Oh
on
my
track,
goodness.
Dylan. Well, yeah.
Oh my god!
Podcast.
This is yeah, and this is one of the most turbulent times in all of Navigator houses because when he does die, there is a diminishment of power until the next Patra Nova emerges. And so as soon as he dies, something inexplicable happens to all the heirs apparent where they grow in aggressiveness, but also in power. And so it just becomes this massive game now where they try and kill each other until one emerges as the Patra Nova. And as you know, the number of heirs apparent slowly get smaller and smaller as they kill each other off and they die, they grow more and more in physical size, though, just as much as in warp ability. In
I don't want to say psychic energy,
but it really is.
in
right?
they'll grow in navigator power.
Sure.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
for sure.
MPs.
Yes.
Growing MPs.
Their NP energy will grow.
It's 11,900. So it's like, I mean, it sounds like the possibility of just some heavy corruption there. Like, hey, why don't we knock off the Patra Nova and hope our hair gets to the top, you know?
Yeah.
which seems fucking.
There is like a very
Kill the king.
heavy
Yeah.
assassination aspect.
yeah.
But
If you want to plunge like half of the Imperium into dankness
Oh,
for a
good
couple
fucking point.
couple weeks,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
people will remember that you did that.
Yeah.
Unless you can hide it, but for sure there is that period where you really fuck everything over. But apparently, as soon as like the new Patra Nova like proclaims himself,
Yeah.
it's just instantly restored.
Isn't that funny?
Where he just as soon as he
and it's
becomes
not psychic.
quote unquote, right?
Yeah,
We're throwing air quotes all over
Yeah,
the
yeah.
place here.
Yeah, but what's crazy? So like the Patra Nova can live like there's an example of one living to 1,200 years old. So like these times of turbulent are incredibly rare. Like
Yeah.
they've
and
happened 10 times.
right.
You know?
And the Patra Nova is not going to be in a warship or anything like
yeah,
that.
he's never
he's
gonna
stuck
die.
in Terra.
yeah, he'll be stuck on Terra.
he's gonna
He'll
have-
be very safe.
He's gonna have the best augmentations. He's gonna live as long as possible. Okay, so these times of tribulations.
Yep, sure.
Trials and tribulations.
Will rarely happen over the course
The
of 40K.
weeping and gnashing of teeth.
yeah. So
But yeah, it would be rare, but when it does happen, like
it's crazy.
Shit gets real.
So do you think that the current Patra Nova, like I'm sure at some point you'll know, fuck, I'm dying. Do you think he's going to start like warning people in the Imperium? Maybe start piling food, ammo.
I don't think so.
well, I don't know about that. He is a High Lord.
Yeah.
So
So you think people are useful in 40K? That's
no,
an interesting take.
I think that
hot take on
I
40K.
think they try and be as strategic as possible. Like, is the Imperium
Oh, so
going to
they-
care about an agri world? No. Is
not one.
no? Are they going to care about Terra? Yes. Are they going to care about Mars? Absolutely. Are they going
can
to care
see it,
about what's the fucking world at the Ultima segmentum? Where did Raboot come from?
Ultramar.
Right.
Ultramar.
Are they going to warn Ultramar? Absolutely.
Sure.
Are they going to warn some planet in the middle of bumfuck nowhere?
Yeah, sure.
No.
Yeah. I can see that too. The Patra Nova would favor the house that he comes from, and he's like, okay, just don't make any contracts with anybody for the next 10 years or 5 years. You know,
I'm getting old. Just fucking.
don't make any contracts, because when I die, you can bump that contract price up. People are going to be desperate for our Navigator house. That's how we're going to grow our house in power.
Do you think
Stockpile
he-
some stuff after the stripe is done. You can sell it, make extra money because the price
Exactly.
will be high.
Yeah,
I
can
kind
see
of-
that happen for sure.
when I was thinking about it, I kind of figured that he would like deny all old allegiances. I couldn't see it functioning where he actually favored a house over another.
Look, he's
You-
probably
you-
corrupt as fuck. Like,
you
let's
feel
be
like
real.
once
He's
you
in the
be-
High Lords of Terra. Like he's gonna
I
have.
feel like
favorites.
once you become a Patra Nova, you ascend to like another level of Navigator, or
So
Well,
here,
you do,
well, so here's
right?
why I think he still favors him. So he moves into the Navigator quarter, the
palace.
the palace or whatever. Him and his house, his whole house moves in there with him.
Do they move in with him?
They move in there with him, so he still has very strong ties to his house.
you'll still be seeing his family every day.
Yeah.
Well, nah, I don't know about that. It says the staff, soldiery, and other retainers of the palace are all drawn from his own house and
Oh,
are
okay.
replaced with each new Patra
Okay, so
Nova.
it's not necessarily his actual house members.
Right, yes. They still live in their house.
There might be the odd one, but who knows?
But it's more often more likely that it's the heirs apparent that are actually living in that palace with him where he's
Receiving
teaching them,
his
right?
training.
Yeah. I don't know. It seemed odd to me that, and I'm sure it does happen.
Sure.
But
Like I said, this has only happened a handful of times, so
yeah.
it's possible. It's not possible. Who knows? I
Yeah.
think
Interesting.
I don't know. I
And
kind
it's
of
not like Games
preferred to
Workshop
picture.
is super detailed in the lore on this.
No.
I kind of preferred to picture a Patra Nova that felt like his role transcended the need for petty house squabbles.
sometimes you're such an optimist, and other
Yeah.
times you're not.
Yeah,
Not
it's
at all.
fucking
Like
not
greater
at
good.
Yeah, exactly. Like you treat the greater good with such hate, but these guys are
Not
I like
hatred.
to think that these guys are benevolent.
So they take turns killing each other, like
they're
democratically.
humans, though.
and,
We're humans. They're humans. It's easy to see the good in it.
Not those filthy Xenos.
Oh yeah. They're not
the
even.
fuck
We're
you just
talking.
call him?
I said
We should move on.
filthy Xenos.
All right.
I'm gonna flip a table if you keep saying filthy Xenos.
Please don't do that.
Okay,
No,
unwashed
no.
Xenos,
Novator. Novator.
Navigator.
How do you pronounce it? Novator.
I always said
Navitator.
Novator. That's what I said.
Novator? Sure.
This is the next thing we're talking about, though.
And these are the leaders of individual houses, and they can be through either biological connection or figurative parenthood.
Yeah, and this is kind of where we're saying that you can be part of a house, but not necessarily born into the house.
Sure.
Right? Like you could be drawn in from another house, or say another house is falling, you just adopt that child,
Yeah, sure.
and then that child is just part of your house. And
Sure.
yeah.
Someone got orphaned during a war, so
Sure.
you just take their
So you
kids.
accepted them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Novator is the leader of the individual houses.
Yeah.
And they keep the house fortunes. They're keeping the members safe, so they have a role of kind of like head of the family.
Exactly.
Yeah, as much as what you think like the head of the head of the family
Yeah.
would do, that's exactly what they
Yeah,
do.
like
they're
they're-
mob bosses.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
of
very
course,
much
yeah.
Would the renegade houses have so much of a Novator on them, or would they just kind of be like individual navigators kind of doing their own thing?
You don't think they would have Novators?
I almost took it as them as just like almost like individuals,
They are called renegade houses,
I guess. So,
right? So I
So
think
it could be a whole house then.
Yeah.
They'd probably have a Novator then, Navigator.
I definitely think there are some navigators that are just like, I'm a renegade, fuck
Yeah.
my house, I don't give a shit about anything. But I could definitely see some renegades that like, hey, your mutation is too bad, so the Patra Nova is just like, your whole house is gone. But that doesn't mean they cease to be a house functioning together, right? I don't know. I definitely assume there would be Novators in renegade houses.
Can't have a house without a home. So they would cease.
Tell that to the nomadic houses.
So they also will take on contracts and stuff. They're the ones going out there selling their services because they really are selling
the-
their skills.
They're the face of the house.
Yeah.
They're doing all the wheeling and
Yeah,
dealing.
like they don't do things for free. They're not guiding ships for free.
No, God, no.
Yeah, exactly. Unlike a guardsman who his pay is, he gets a lasgun.
His
That's
meal?
His meal.
Yeah.
Like these guys are
His
actively
pills?
like they're
Not being shot by a commissar?
yeah. Like these guys actually have that much power that they're getting paid for what they do.
And people are bidding on their services
Yeah.
even sometimes.
They're being paid very well.
Yeah. So that's kind of the major ranks in houses. I'm sure there's other stuff, but
Those are like the important ones.
those are the important ones.
Yeah.
Like, you have navigators, and then you might have navigator brother-in-law. Like, fuck, who cares?
Well, brother,
sounds like
navigator at arms, obviously.
Navigator at arms,
So-
yeah.
sounds
And then
like-
navigator's brother at arms.
Yes.
Navigator's sister at arms.
Yes.
Sounds like a sitcom there. Oh, my brother-in-law, the Navigator.
Wah, wah, wah. Like,
What wacky adventures will he get into next?
like the image is like him opening the fridge and like looking like, huh.
and there's
With
like
his third eye.
there's
Everyone
like
dies.
There's like a chaos demon arm reaching out of the fridge or something.
Yeah.
Constant punchline as people just keep dying next to it.
Oops.
What are you gonna do?
Towel slipped.
So let's talk about the navigator
I
quarter.
feel so educated. Fuck, this is interesting. This is so fascinating.
pretty
Just
cool.
All the tiny little intricacies of the Navigator.
I love when like I'm coming up with episode ideas. Eric's like, is there gonna be enough content on that? I'm like, oh yeah. Like, oh yeah, bud.
Fake it till you make it.
That's what we've been doing the whole night here. We've got about 3.5 lines of notes.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Navigator Quarter. This quarter is actually located on Terra, where the most powerful families have their houses.
So that would be magisterial houses.
Exactly.
For sure.
And their wealth has created a labyrinth of gardens and ostentatious displays.
Oh, what's that word?
Ostentatious.
There it is.
It's
you have
also
read before.
apparently it's a massive district. Like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
a very large district covering
We're talking
Terra.
like a continent, probably. Like it's quite possible. Like the Imperial Palace is a. Well,
That's huge.
the Imperial Palace is a whole.
They've
and I
been
guess-
around for 18,000
And I
years.
guess you
though.
got to remember there's no water left on Terra
Exactly.
either.
So, and like
fuck it, sure, a continent.
They
Why
could
not?
maybe have
Don't
their
quote
own
me on
kind
that.
of hive city almost fucking thing.
yeah,
Made
exactly.
entirely of navigators. Like it's just all navigators walking around.
Yeah, and they're people in their employ.
Yeah, serfs.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Ser-
sure.
Servitors, all
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's a huge place on Terra, and it's just beautiful.
Because they have so
gardens.
much money.
Exactly.
I'm imagining this is one of the nicest places a person could want to live on Terra.
The
On
place
Terra,
is
yeah.
nice. The people are probably a little gross.
Like I'm imagining you could almost catch a whiff of fresh air when you wake up first thing in the morning.
They
and
import
just-
fresh air.
and just- it's like
And
on
they slowly release it
from
from the
planet.
It's like on Spaceballs, they send out giant vacuum cleaners to just harvest atmospheres.
yeah, exactly, for sure.
Just popping cans of air.
Yeah, so the other notable thing in here is this is actually where the Palace of the Navigators are. We kind of said that. This is where the Patra Nova actually like resides.
Yeah, and it's right at the very center of the Navigator quarter,
Yeah.
where that palace is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then we also talked about how the fact that there's tunnels and vaults going, and it says like stretching down towards the core of the earth.
Yeah.
And so that goes really far.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
in there, like they store massive wealth.
Yeah.
Down there, that's where they store like the gross old navigators that they don't want to see anymore. So
The offcuts.
yeah, they're gross secrets and stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big fuck off place.
Yeah. So that's pretty good idea of houses. What's crazy though about houses is we've mentioned it. They can kind of fight. They get into quarrels. They'll fight over contracts and stuff. And warfare between the houses is pretty interesting.
a lot of it is very subversive. It's not
Yeah.
quite as out in the open as you would expect between like feudal warlords
they're-
or anything.
They're not employing like bane blades to like rumble through the navigator quarter to blow open a hole in the other person's house.
But it's more like Doonigan with a lot more political subterfuge.
treachery.
Yeah, using your political might
Yeah.
to kind of get what you need
But
instead
not
of
only
your physical.
that, they still do employ assassins.
Oh, yeah.
And they do have actually armies.
Yeah.
Where we saw like one line that said they employ their armies like when they need to. But the one of the crazy things about
No,
them,
that's not accurate. Look, it's basically the plot of Fast and the Furious because what they're doing is scooting
I'm
around
curious
around
where
the
you're
world.
going with
Oh,
this.
let me get pokey out.
Please
I mean,
elaborate.
What they do is they're about travel, right? It's all about transportation. So you'll clearly just apply that plot to this, and that's how they resolve their issues. Who can move the fastest? They race each other.
Yeah.
That's warfare.
Okay.
They just race, challenge each other to races.
You've muted his mic, right?
Absolutely.
Please let me Tokyo drift through the Warp Emperor.
I see their armies actually more for not all houses are in the navigator's quarters. Some houses are off world in some backwater world. It could get invaded by orcs. They need their own protection, so they hire their own private army, or so chaos raids don't happen to come steal all their navigators. I see that's how they use their navigators. Their armies.
So do you think they were like buying mercenaries, or do you think they get some Imperial guard kind of sent their way? Maybe just kind of flex some cash
that's a
over
good
and
thought.
get some guards.
I don't know
I
if it
think-
would be the Imperial Guard.
Why not though? Wouldn't any planet that actually houses Navigator be of extreme strategic value
Yeah.
to the Imperium? And at that point, they have a PDF
Yeah,
on there.
but-
They have they probably would maybe have a regiment. It's one of those things. It's like a resource you cannot lose.
Yes, and I agree with you, but if it's like that, in my mind, it wouldn't be the Navigator's army. It would still be an Imperial army tasked with guarding this Navigator house.
And then the Navigator wouldn't control it.
exactly.
Correct.
So
right.
I agree. I think in space, if they do have like a stronghold somewhere, there is a force there capable of holding them
Yeah.
that is outside the Navigator's control.
Yeah.
But that does not stop them from also having their own personal
their own private
Yeah.
military
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's actually a bunch of examples too of them having like they call them like security teams or whatever, but they use them very aggressively. You know?
The security team has a very broad operating.
Yeah,
operating
exactly. And like there's actually examples of like security teams going to war with each other. Like houses are sending
The-
security teams at each other.
The main thing to I think realize is that they try and keep it as quiet as possible.
Yes.
They do not want their
There's not
They,
tanks.
they don't
Yeah.
want the Inquisition poking their nose in there
Well,
or anything like
yeah.
that.
There's not tanks rumbling down the street. It's like
they're
It'll
doing
just
like
be
raids.
quiet assassinations.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they like to keep it. But every once in a while, it will spill out to actual like above ground in the daylight.
Every once in a
conflict.
while, you got to blow a fucker's house up with the Bane Blade.
but
Every now and
but
again.
that's not. It's actually not viewed on very well.
Yeah.
to the where of
No.
like the Patra Nova can reject like the person whoever's like creating this public disturbance because they want to keep everything as private as possible.
and that
so
was-
you're like publicly shamed.
Yeah.
and then you can even be removed.
Yeah, and that's how some of the renegade houses are formed. Is they've
Taken it too far.
yeah And
Disrespected
They
the
even
Patra
have
Nova.
like what was it called? Trade war? No. It
China?
was like they actually had some laws of conflict between navigator houses. They didn't list it, but they did say that there are a list of laws. So it's like
So laws that they have to follow for combat in between the houses.
exactly.
Like, and I know we have it in our notes mentioning about their fancy dueling they have.
Yeah.
And about challenges.
Yeah,
Like if you challenge someone and they don't accept, they forfeit whatever the stake was.
Yeah, and that definitely would be way more common, I think, than like houses going to war with each other.
It'd just be like a duel almost, where you
Yeah.
slap the guy with the glove. And
Exactly.
Kind
Very
of how I
much
say like
that.
the whole landscape of terror, right? It's all very Game of Thrones. It's all very political
Yeah.
power play, and then
Yeah.
like worst case scenario, you go to war, but everyone's kind of stabbing each other.
Yeah. Let's talk about Navigator duels real
Yeah,
quick
sure.
here, because they're pretty crazy. So apparently it originated in the Calexis sector
Calexis.
as a way to publicly within the community of Navigator Houses to settle disputes and win information and resources.
Yeah. So publicly doesn't mean they're doing it where the regular citizen can see. It means they're doing it where the other Navigator houses know about it.
Yeah.
Because they still are extremely secretive and they
Yeah.
keep things within. But if there's a battle between House Sakor and House Soltec, whereas normally we
You can
keep
probably
it
catch it on Navigator TV.
exactly. Normally we keep it as like quiet as possible, but with this duel, the other Navigators know about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And I'm sure that's something they'd be very interested in. Just whoever wins the duel, that could.
Yeah.
The change of power could fucking.
Yeah,
be
Absolutely.
Well, now
dramatic.
it's like now that the Novatar is like, look, this guy has won this duel when he's selling the services of the Navigators. Like, you want this guy? He's like won 87 duels.
Right,
He
yeah.
is a good
it just
navigator.
adds like a prestige.
Yeah,
He is good at staring.
he is very good at staring.
Oh wow, holy
so a
shit!
formal-
This is fucking fascinating. Yeah, go on. Yeah, I'm reading ahead. Yeah, fuck me. I didn't realize
You're
like
supposed
that.
to read that before we do this. You're supposed to be prepared, man.
I'm like, sister, I don't get this far, but yeah.
So a formal request is made by the challenger, and if the challengee refuses to participate, they forfeit the wager.
So it almost forces you to take the wager.
Mortal
You
Kombat
basically
shit.
have to, yeah.
Or you just dishonor yourself massively and seem like a big pussy.
Yeah.
Feels abusable, but
So-
go on. Yeah.
The duel starts. Let's set the scene. You know, it's in a cowboy town. There's
High
the
noon?
definitely high
High
noon.
noon.
Exactly. Dust Devil.
Yeah, cool.
On
Tumbleweed.
two opposite
The
sides.
town is not quite big enough for the two of us.
This trade contract isn't quite big enough for the two of us.
Good thing you won't be here much longer. That kind
And then
of.
we
You'll be
then
in
we peel
hospital
off-
for 2 weeks.
Then we throw off our weighted geese like on Dragon Ball Z.
They fall to the floor.
And then we stare deeply into each other's third
But
eye.
it's the weighted headband is what they throw off.
Exactly. Yeah. I've been wearing this for years.
Throw off Piccolo's weighted turban and just stare deeply into their third eye.
Yeah,
Until you get too freaked out by the blackness of it and give up and tap out.
Exactly. So yeah, they literally just will look into each other's eyes until one of them submits.
So they're not. It's not a pistol duel. It's not
No.
a fucking sword fight. They're just
No.
like
No, it's
they're
just like-
staring intimately into each other's eyes.
Yeah.
yeah.
It seems pretty romantic.
Yeah, they
scary as
just
shit.
they just stare at you pretty longingly and don't say no homo first.
First one to get wrecked.
Yeah, first one flinches is out.
First one who takes the knee actually is the correct. If you go to your knees, that's the first person to lose.
I am not dueling you.
But the crazy thing is, like, these can last for seconds, but they've also been known to last for hours.
Yeah.
Sure.
Of just battling wills against each other and forcing the other person to submit
Yeah.
to them.
Make for terrible
Fucking
TV.
hell. I mean,
one
like,
of the reasons though why there's not really like a downside to accepting. There are downsides, but why it's better to accept than not is that they don't really end in death.
Yeah.
They
Sure.
almost never
Embarrassment.
kill the other person. There is that embarrassment, but at least, hey, you tried.
it's like jujitsu of the mind. It's like, hey, you're just gonna get choked
Yeah,
out. You'll be
for
right.
sure.
Well, so
Yeah,
the
yeah.
way I see it is like when you look into the eye, what kills the people is you're like looking into the warp itself, right? So the more powerful of a navigator you are, the more of the warp you can see. So a younger navigator might not be able to see that much of the warp. So he actually has to he's actually looking into like a powerful force. So yes, it
So
is-
he doesn't quite comprehend the whole scope.
exactly. So yes,
of
it
the
is
warp.
willpower and stuff. But it's not like they're like, who's gonna blink first? Like there's actual
So
they're trying to
get
force
back
the
to
other
that
person-
water
yeah,
analogy. It's almost like the novice is fighting with the river compared to the expert's ocean or something like that.
Exactly. So yeah,
But
but what?
not a blinking contest. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, they just stare there. First one to blink loses.
Yeah, But
Cuts out his eyelids so he wins.
yeah. So they are doing mental games with each other, but really it's like they're looking into the power of the warp and whoever can look into it longer type thing.
It's kind of cool. I mean, it's a pretty smart way to prove like how powerful navigator you are, because that's
Yeah.
your job. So you
Exactly.
should be able to look into it for a period
It's
of time.
Yeah, longer than the
kind
other
of metal as fuck too, because staring at these eyes will make a regular man drop dead.
Yeah,
so staring at another navigator's eye for a couple hours or days or weeks that you have to go there is pretty intense.
Yeah. But like Eric said, it rarely ends in death, but it does take months for the navigator to fully like recover from the ordeal.
So it's like going on a super bender with the boys there. You just got a bad hangover.
Exactly. So yeah, there's a bunch of like different ways that the navigators like will play off each other's houses and try to gain position. And this is one way, like we said, they might assassinate other people in other houses and
Form dark deals behind closed doors.
undercut them with bidding, you know, and there's a bunch of different ways. So really anything that you can think of.
Yeah, you name it, they do it.
Exactly. It's 40K. Everything's welcome.
Except
Everyone-
female Space Marines.
That a boy.
And Primarnius Kelgar.
Well,
I think it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
His model's cool. I don't so much like the lore of it.
I don't mind it.
Eric.
I don't mind it.
Hot damn.
I think it's way better than saying a regular Space Marine can't become Primaris.
Should I derail this for a quick second?
We're
This would be good
almost
for you.
done.
Don't do it.
We're almost
No,
done.
this would be good for Eric.
All right, what's up?
Okay, Google image.
Oh god.
It's great for a podcast. I like where this is going.
Yeah, we're gonna have to describe what he
Primaris
finds.
suppressors. And I want to know your first reaction when you see this model.
So everyone can look at this.
I like the librarian that came with this. Is from that Shadow
Yeah,
Spear.
yeah,
I like
he's-
the librarian. He's got
he's
a pretty
pretty cool.
pretty dynamic pose. Looks like he's like actually thinking about what.
Doing his
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah. He's
curling
kind
iron.
of doing his librarian powers. The Greater Possessed, I think, are pretty badass.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet.
And it looks like there's some Inceptors there with.
So Eric's reaction was he lifted his upper lip like
It was
and
like
did
a
head
what?
twitch.
It's like a grimace.
It's like he's
Yeah.
it's like he took that can of food from the fridge and he wasn't sure how good it was, how fresh it was, so he smelled it and it was
Yeah, exactly.
It
That
kind of
was-
makes me feel how when I first saw Reavers for the first time.
So I can't actually see what you're looking at. I'm not going
No,
to.
that's not it. No, that's not the cool model. Oh, that's not the model.
they're
I'm
from-
talking about.
Those are from the set.
Pull it up, Jamie. Maybe we should,
They look like scouts for Primaris.
No, that's not what I'm talking about, though.
That-
describe what you're seeing.
That's a suppressor, though. I don't know what you want from me if it's
Oh
not
no,
this.
I know what you're saying.
Everyone's
Oh,
looking
this
at
one
what
right
you
here.
can see right now.
There we go.
I'll
Yeah,
describe what I'm
that's not
saying.
him, 'cause
It's
he's-
3 grown men huddled around a laptop.
There we go. Look at that.
Scrambling at the
What
keyboards
kind of
frantically.
gun do you those Inceptors there? What kind of gun do you think that is,
God,
Mark?
I
Auto
hate
cannon.
the
That's
new
a-
jump pack Marines anyway.
They are they are a good model.
Oh
they're
my
a good
God,
unit,
that's
but they're a
so
shit
fucking
model.
There we go. There you go, James. I did it for you. You're
So what I'm
Okay,
looking at
okay.
is a space marine with a gun that's twice as big as it
looking
is.
at bullshit. That's what you're looking at.
It's got a stand that is see-through, so it looks like
it
it's
looks
flying
like it
through the air.
belongs on a tank. That gun.
It looks like it's lying down, but vertically. It's
What
kind
the
of
fuck?
What?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Mark. That is dumb. I also think that
We're sorry
the
for-
heavy bolters held in a single hand is dumb. I think
Yes,
that's dumb.
yes.
The idea that you take the regular Marine and there's risk, but you do it, but you turn him into a Primaris Marine.
Oh, that's fine.
That's
Sure.
awesome.
Sure.
And the
Like-
gear that they gave him, that's sweet.
Sure. Like, if you ignore that Primaris are shitty to begin with.
No,
Like, you ignore that.
Primaris aren't shitty, but there are some really bad choices that Games Workshop has made.
The way Games Workshop brought Primaris out was shitty. No one.
Sure, I can agree that there are better ways to do that.
No one would have
Look
gave.
what I've done.
But does it stop you from playing
Unreal.
Primaris?
the podcast.
No one would have gave a shit if they just made the models for the tactical Marines just a little bit bigger, and just
No, hold
gave
on.
them a new.
Let's
just-
be honest. People would have given a shit regardless. There will always be shit
I
spitters
will
out
always
there.
throw my shit.
It wouldn't have
as
mattered how they
far
done it.
as
If they had
possible.
asked for Mark's advice, and then
I
they,
would have shit on it.
if
even.
they had asked for his advice and he had told them exactly what he wanted and they did it, he still would have found something to complain about.
I would have still
because
thrown
that's
my
that's
shit. That's
kind
what
of
I
how
like to
what
do.
it means to be like a fan of 40K is that it's never good enough.
You're an angsty, whinging nerd,
Right.
and you
Anyways.
can't handle fucking reality.
And I've never talked to a girl.
You've never talked to her once.
Not a real one.
I've never even seen one, so there you go.
Hello, your mother.
I even get turned down by female-sounding chatbots.
Jeez. when you call in late at night to talk to like one of those girls on the phone, they're like, "Yeah, no thanks." Yeah, it's
not
Or when
worth
I
it.
call a 1-900 number, they pay me to hang up.
Back to the episode. So literally depressed life.
We have like one more point.
What's
to
the
do, and
importance
that's
of a Navigator house?
fucking Dylan. Goddamn.
Dylan's the one keeping us on track.
Thank you.
But this,
guys.
So like if you could have like 4 important things about Navigator houses.
I mean, I could think of a couple just off the top of my head, but I guess like the weight in the Imperium. So you could put them on a scale and you can measure them.
what's their mass?
in
compared
Canada,
to
everyone
everyone
else
else's?
is
they're
system.
very heavy.
They
compared to
are.
an
The
average
necessity
human.
of Imperial survival. So like obviously you
Well,
need them to
well,
get the fuck.
Well, let's talk
It's-
about the
it's-
weight in the Imperium.
Well, no, they're like a
first.
GPS of the
Yeah,
universe.
they're like 135 pounds each. So
They're
No,
replaced,
they
they're replaced
measure
by-
everything in stone in 40K.
I mean,
oh my
Serial will be
God.
doing their jobs in a
They're
couple of
like
years.
13 stone.
13 stone.
Oh my god, that's huge.
Let's talk about the Navigator
did.
House's weight in the Imperium.
Didn't you hear what I said?
It's
I
impossible.
did, but it wasn't enough.
mean-
It's impossible to understate how critical and valuable they are to the Imperium.
Yeah.
So
It's almost like they're necessary for Imperial survival.
Disagree.
So let's put a statement that you can direct. I think that they are in the top 3 most important things in the entire Imperium. Would you agree or disagree?
Okay.
What are the other two?
So
Imperial Guard.
In order-
and the Emperor.
in order for the Imperium to continue in its current fashion,
Yep.
100%, I
Yes.
do agree they are absolutely necessity. They are a necessity to its survival.
Yeah.
Do I think that humanity could survive and even grow without them? Yes.
I don't know if they would be able to survive in the world of 40K without being able to quickly travel from one side of the universe, bring your Space Marines for a great crusade to the other side, and stop whatever needs stopped. The
Yeah.
the
Or even
distances
just
you have to
bringing-
travel are just too intense.
Yeah, or even just bringing food to the next planet over. Because how many
the
planets
next
are
system over.
Yeah. Yeah, like how many planets are dependent on that type of relationship with nearby planets.
Okay.
So most wars are won through movement. And if like there's examples throughout military history where if you do not have superior movement, you've lost.
Yeah, it's communication and transportation. Those are the 2 key things. And
Logistics.
Yeah.
If you want humanity to be a single unifying force,
you need those
Yeah.
2 things.
100%. You would like the Navigators. They really help. But like,
Will humanity die within 10 generations if they had no navigators?
No.
would they die at all?
Would the
I
Imperium end?
I think
The
they,
Imperium, as it's currently known, yes.
Yeah.
it
I
would
think
end.
they would begin a downward trend if the Navigators went away.
Yeah.
The
Why,
Imperium-
though?
Almost
Why?
like the whole age of strife would happen again.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
For the first 4,000 years of the Dark Age of Technology or the Golden Age, there were no navigators. No, not for
What-
the
what-
first
what
4,000. For the first,
Yeah.
of
for the
go-
first 7,000
of
years,
the
there
golden
were
age
no
of technology.
navigators.
Of the golden age of
Wait,
technology.
all I'm saying is that we
could they have just built the computer to navigate?
All I'm saying is that
possible.
it was there. Like they had this golden age without the navigators.
Where they expanded across the entire galaxy.
Yeah. So does it help? Absolutely. Is it 100% necessitative? If
Okay.
if humanity was allowed to, like, if the navigators disappear, that means something is really fucked up, and the Imperium is already gone.
Oh, sure. But let's just say that.
And that means all their restrictions
Yes.
are gone. And that means that's allowing humanity to go back into their innovative state.
yeah.
And
so
I would not, I don't think it's an impossibility that another golden age happens.
so
Go on.
that's like a different question entirely, though, because you're like, let's just say the navigators weren't killed to some crazy war that's fucked up the entire Imperium. Let's say just in
A
blink of
navigator disease.
exactly, that affected only navigators, wiped out all the navigators. Like,
I
then-
think that there would be a suitable replacement for them.
I think there would be like decades or like hundreds of years of just chaos where just people are starving, nothing's getting moved.
Yeah.
There's all the fringes of the Imperium are getting pushed on by the Tau, the Tyranids, the Orcs. The Tyranids would fuck the universe. The Imperium of Man wouldn't be able to fucking get in there and just ready a counterattack against it.
Yeah.
I think the Tyranids would just push through everything and steamroll it.
Yeah.
In the short term, I think. In the long term, maybe technology develops. Maybe like you find ways to raid the warp that doesn't make a Navigator a success. Necessary.
That's the interesting thing about.
Maybe you get psychers that take that role instead.
It's the interesting thing about having something that completes a role. If you have something that makes light, there's no need to look for something else that makes light. You don't need to. You already have something to do it.
Sure.
If you already have something that reads the warp, what need is there to expand your knowledge and do it? If all of a sudden you lose it, well, that's a pretty big fucking priority at this
Necessity
point. So
brings invention,
either they recreate the Navigator gene, but it's probably better or worse, who fucking knows, or they find another way capable of doing it.
Yeah.
So that's you fit. Innovation suits necessity, right?
Yeah, sure.
It would be, and short term, yes, it would be wretched.
It would hurt, yeah.
So
many
let's
people.
say let's rephrase the
But
question.
I don't think humanity as a whole would die out,
No,
or
no,
even
I
be
don't think that
slowed.
No, but the
Short term.
the Imperium of Man would never get to the state it was before this hypothetical disease wiped out the Navigators.
I think the Horus Heresy offered a much harsher reality. I think the Cicatrix Maledictum and what happening was a way bigger blip. I think both of those things would show harsher realities than losing the Navigators.
Mark is thinking.
I disagree.
Yeah.
But that's. So let's rephrase the question. Before it was top 3 most important things. Let's top 10.
Well, obviously,
Like where do you if you could just
no,
obviously-
I definitely think it's in the top 3 most important things for the
okay.
Imperium. But I also think the Imperium would change.
It would
Sure.
have
It would adapt.
to.
It would
It would have to adapt, or it would die.
But like,
if
can
it
you
stayed stagnant, it would collapse.
Imagine if all seers disappeared from Eldar. Would
Yeah.
they adapt?
Sure. Yeah.
Would
no,
they? They
I'm,
would
I'm
not.
I'm not
nearly
arguing
as well.
with that. I'm not.
Humanity
arguing with
just
that.
has that ability to constantly change and fill the role of what's needed. We
Yeah.
needed
Does-
better Space Marines.
Yeah.
We have Primaris. The Emperor already saw that. If the Navigators all of a sudden disappeared, do you think the Emperor would have foreseen something happening and create like a backup in place?
We're the cockroaches of the Imperium.
So
of the galaxy.
Of the galaxy, sorry.
Right,
that's what I
like
meant to say.
honestly,
Yeah, yeah.
we're the most prolific. We have the most planets out of everyone. We're the highest population,
Life
and
would find a way.
And some of them don't have like planet spacefaring capability, and yet
Yeah.
we still survive. We thrive.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Like
I
I definitely think
humanity
it
would not be as united as there would be no
100%.
Yeah,
there would
like-
be no empire. It would break down. Into,
I don't know. You still have
it would-
communication. You still have communication because of the astropaths.
Yeah.
I feel like it would turn into like Middle Ages Europe, where it's all like all these vassal states, and there's like 37 different countries in Germany, kind of thing.
Not necessarily. The warp jumps become a lot smaller then. Like
So
they
one
can
of my-
make the short term warp jumps without navigators, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like 5 light years. I think
Yeah.
we said earlier.
Yeah.
So humanity actually just becomes more spread out, and the forces become less concentrated.
How far is the Andromeda galaxy?
Whoa! We're crossing
Oh, sorry.
galaxies?
How far is Alpha Centauri? Sorry.
It's far. Like it is extremely far.
Like how many light years? Like,
I don't know. I can tell you.
I believe that's the closest star system to us.
What do you think, Mark?
I think it's like 135 light years.
17, 14, 7. It's 7.
So it's not a necessity to Imperial survival. The
I
Navigators
don't.
are not a necessity to
If you
Imperial
want
survival.
it, if you want the Imperium to exist currently, yes, it is integral.
Okay.
You cannot have the current Imperium.
So it depends on your
without
definition
it.
of the
But I
Imperials.
think
Yeah.
I think the Imperium would adapt, and I don't think it would be that much worse.
It's true of almost anything, to be fair.
93 million miles.
It's pretty close.
Okay, that's like 47,000 kilometers.
Oh no,
Carry
that's
the
ours.
two.
What the? Why doesn't it just give me the answer I want?
Yeah.
4.2 light
Light
years
years.
away. So that's one jump right
Navigators are important. Are they one of the most important things? Yeah, they're probably pretty fucking up there. I mean, top 3. I mean, you think they are? but You
probably.
don't think they are. But you so
Top 5 most definitely.
yeah. So I mean, you don't think they're top 3, but they're definitely.
there. No,
fucking
I
up
do
there
think they're
somewhere.
top 3,
Okay.
but I don't think like if you lost
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Navigators, you could survive. If you lost the Imperial
Right.
Guard, no, you're done.
Yeah.
You are done 100%. If
I
you
think
lose,
we all agree
if
with
you
that,
lose the
right?
High Lords
Yeah.
of Terra,
Yeah.
you're done.
Yeah.
You're
I don't
What,
agree with that.
what do they do?
Yeah.
they coordinate everything in the Imperium.
But if you
Very
didn't
poorly.
have them, you would still have people on your planet that could coordinate for you.
at a very
there's-
small level.
There's still other
Yeah.
logicians.
They determine where the armies go and what
Yeah.
needs to be protected.
Each planet
it-
becomes susceptible to fucking
Yeah, but, like,
taking over. Yeah.
If you lost the High Lords of Terra, that's where you run your city states. That's where everything fractures
Yeah,
and
correct.
authority
Correct.
gets very much
yeah.
smaller.
Then it's a
Not
different Imperium.
Not necessarily because
And
of a
then
loss
feel
of
like-
resources
I feel like
get
the-
distributed where they need to instead of
I feel like just
where the High Lords.
I feel like someone else would just
So maybe
feel
you
that-
wouldn't fail, but I think like
I think the High Lords could go away in an instant. Nothing would change.
You reckon?
I feel like
Absolutely nothing would
way.
change.
I feel like someone else would slide in to fill that power vacuum, like the
Yeah.
Inquisition
Coach
would set,
Van Dyer.
would set up some super slimy, skeezy thing.
That's a good point. Yeah. I reckon,
Like
yeah.
someone, like wherever there's a power vacuum, somebody's gonna fill it.
Or the Emperor wakes up.
that
Yeah,
would be
somebody
nice.
will fill it, but it'll be people who are already in command and know where things need to go. Like
They're probably-
there's a huge hierarchy. Like
There is
people-
a hierarchy.
there's a huge hierarchy. If they go, there's people under them that know what to do, and those people
Yeah.
under them are the ones actually making the decisions and reporting to the High Lords. The High Lords are not being like, "Well, send 32 guardsmen over to this planet." Like that's not them. That's not what they're doing. They're definitely not debating over like actual numbers. Like maybe they're like, "Oh shit, Abaddon's launching another Black Crusade. Maybe we should send some guys there."
You really
But
don't
they're-
think so?
I know so.
We-
There's no way they can keep track of the entire galaxy.
The
and make these
12 of
decisions.
them,
The 12 of them, and especially and make decisions on like such
the entire fucking galaxy.
like millions of worlds. How do you keep track of
Okay,
that?
so it talks about the Senatorum,
Yeah.
which is composed of tens of thousands of imperial dignitaries, noblemen, and lords. But
Yeah.
these rarely meet, and instead, the High 12 conduct the vast majority of affairs. I don't know,
That
man.
sounds like a terrible job, honestly.
And technically now it's Reboot. He's
Just
like the
Reboot.
master of the Imperium.
Man,
Technically now it's him. He controls everything, and they serve his will.
Yeah,
Because
but-
it used to be that they would try and like enact the emperor's will.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. But I don't know. I don't know if you give them enough credit.
I just don't believe in government. I guess
Sure, but that doesn't.
I believe I know how to spend my money than the government knows how to spend my money.
Well, but what
I
about
know
the
how you
roads,
spend your
Mark?
money
The
too. It's just on
roads.
models.
I believe in roads, and I know I should contribute to roads.
And healthcare.
but you need Titans more.
I also like Titans.
you raise a good point,
Yeah.
Steve.
Anywho, yeah.
So here's a question I was wanted to
yeah,
ask
sure.
for a while.
Yeah.
How hard do you think it would be for the Imperium to just flat out replace navigators if they actually developed a little bit of technology? Do you think they could build like a computer program that could navigate the warp with?
Sorry, are you saying do you think they could, or what would happen if they did?
Do you think it's possible, like, for them to like produce a technology that would allow them to traverse the warp without navigators?
I mean, isn't that the point of 40k? All the old technology in ways is lost, and we are constantly falling
But
back.
if like, could it be possible? Absolutely. Why
Sure.
not?
Will it happen? I doubt
No.
it because they will not advance the technology
Right.
like that.
But that's a
Here's-
different question.
Here's my thought on that, because people in power hold on to power at all costs. So if the navigators even caught whiff of like somebody creating this technology, boom, dead. They're not gonna let some noob like
They're gonna
Yeah.
buy the company that's developing
Correct.
it.
Exactly.
They're gonna
Like,
buy
we
the
see this
people
in
that
our
developed it. They're gonna
world
buy
all
that
the
debt
time.
and they're gonna bury it.
Exactly. We see this in our world all the time.
They're gonna
Where
Google-
there is
Google the
better
shit out of it.
technology, but the big companies.
But if
take it over.
Reboot creates a decree and
Yeah.
sends like to the Mechanicum, I need you to do this. I need you to create a program capable of doing what the Navigators do. Isn't it kind of outside of what the Navigators can affect now?
Not necessarily.
They've got their own private armies.
Yeah. Like
Oh come on! Compared to what Reboot can bring
Yeah,
up,
but, like, if-
you cannot go to war with the Imperium.
They just have to hire like a Calaxis assassin.
yeah,
Sure,
Exactly. Kill one guy working on it.
and the one guy working on it.
The 40 guys working on it.
40 guys?
The 50 guys.
How many guys
There's
did
5
Call,
guys, Eric.
How many guys did Call have helping him?
2.
Like 6, and then 2 of them were clones.
He knows
But-
about stuff. I'm trusting.
All I'm,
no, I know what you're saying.
All I'm saying
but-
is that if the directive came from high enough, I do not think the Navigators could stop it. Yes, they are on
They
the
would
High
wa-
Lords of Terra.
They would want to, and they would try to.
But I don't think you could actually halt it if it came from high enough.
I mean, it all depends, right? It depends how this technology is being made, who's making it, all these things. Like, it's all very dependent.
Yeah.
Like,
If it's just a random guy doing it, of
course.
they're going to stop it. If it's Reboot ordering it himself and keeping tabs on
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
he is not going to welcome interference
Yeah.
from the Navigator House.
all we can really comment on and know for sure, or reasonably have opinions about, is like how the Navigators would feel about that.
and they
about
would
to be replaced.
they would
be scared
they'd
and
be
pissed and try everything they could to stop it.
100%. Yeah.
And then we
Because-
can paint two different worlds where it gets successfully made and it doesn't, and it gets successfully stopped.
You know, this is
So-
almost turned into a subject that happens in the Dune books again.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, control the spice, control the universe.
Eric, Google this, because I'm pretty sure there's a story like so the Emperor, when he was creating the webway or on Terra, like tapping
Yeah.
into it, a Patra Nova actually went and fucked around with the Golden Throne to try to stop it from happening because that would eliminate their need. I'm pretty sure I've read.
Holy shit, really?
And that's like the Emperor himself, and they sent people and they actually fucked with the Golden Throne.
You know what? That's
So-
hardcore.
So
That's
pretty wild.
So now,
They-
now check me on this because I forget where I heard this from. If I read it recently,
He's
but
furiously slamming on the keyboard.
That's the highest level of treason, right? Like,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But it might be on the Patra Nova's.
But
main
that's job
page.
security, man. Like, you're a navigator. What else are you? The only thing keeping you
Yeah.
alive is your ability to see the necessity that the
Fucking
Imperium
A.
needs for you for.
No, I agree. Can you
If
imagine
they
the
can,
balls, though? Jesus
if they can
Christ.
replace you, then you're just target practice at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
Your third eye is a target.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's just a necessity of survival by that point. But I mean, the fucking balls at this point, they're like, hey, dude, why don't we just like become regular people and travel through these fucking stargates? Seems legit. Instead, they're like, no, we need a purpose.
Yeah, we need to. Oh, go on.
Oh,
Okay, so on Lexicanum it says during the Horus Heresy, the Patra Nova was so threatened by the Dark Glass and the Golden Throne projects, as they threatened to render them obsolete, that he dispatched agents to destroy the Dark Glass.
Okay.
What was the dark glass?
I'm not entirely certain. But so it doesn't sound like he actually moved against. And the Dark Glass is an ancient device from the Dark Age of technology. So boom, we had the capability.
Interesting.
Sure.
And yeah, and he stopped it because that is 100% what I would expect navigators to do.
Yeah.
But
Good
It's just
thing
an
Nova
example, it's
Nobilites.
just-
for sure.
like-
But that also tells me that, hey, if all of a sudden they disappeared, are there other things like the Dark Glass out
Sure,
there?
sure.
Probably.
So we now know that this technology exists, and you could
Yeah.
write some kind of law where it gets dug the fuck up.
Of
And it's
course,
okay,
yeah, a sector of space that all the navigators died from a navigator
just a weird
disease.
a weird warp disease or something.
Yeah,
like that.
something that just affected their genetic code.
Yeah.
Then you find this item capable because we know it exists, and it's just a small thing. And now, boom! Now you don't need navigators anymore. That changes everything.
Sure.
Now you don't need to like fight for contracts or pay anything.
Yeah.
That could be an interesting story to write.
Except I don't think GW has any interest in developing the story that much.
no.
No, God, no. But yeah, so it doesn't sound like they did anything against the Golden
Oh,
Throne.
okay. Yeah.
But could
That's
you
fucking
imagine?
Still
Oh
the
my
fucking
God, that's
the
really
fucking
cool, yeah.
balls.
Could you imagine though? That'd be wild.
Damn.
They still did go against the Emperor essentially at the end because I'm sure the Emperor wanted to use that Dark Glass.
Yeah, I'm sure he was more than a little upset about that.
Yeah. But anywho, I think
It was
we've-
even discovered. The Dark Glass was even discovered by the Emperor.
Yeah, so like
Oh,
the
so
Emperor
they
knew
went and
about
broke
it,
his
like-
favorite toy.
Yeah, so like even if Reboot Gilliman had his fingers deep into like some project, like the navigators
Like
are going to
wrist
do
deep.
everything that they can do to try to stop it. But I think we've all kind of said our opinion on that.
Yeah,
we could
it's-
ramble about this topic for hours, just
Yeah.
this one alone. But I think we should move on to the next one.
Okay.
So our next one is even though they have all this power, they're still on the fringe of society. So I've kind of mentioned briefly how like corrupt or like mutated they are and stuff. Like they're not. You never make a navigator friend. Like
You'd hardly ever see a
Magisterial,
navigator
yeah.
for the most
Magisterial
part.
House.
yeah, but like yeah, they're not. You know,
You-
they're
your
on a spaceship.
average person would never see one.
Yeah.
You'd
You-
never have the opportunity to see one.
Yeah, if you're on a spaceship, even a smaller one, like that navigator's having his meals delivered to his chamber.
Yeah, he probably doesn't leave his navigation
Exactly.
chamber.
Like they're still very much on the outcast. Like they're filthy. Like they're still mutants.
Filthy little Zoomkas.
Like if you look at an Ogren, like filthy little Zoom. Like
You like
they're-
that?
I do. They're still like not respected. Like they're
No.
still like outcasts.
And that is a
They're a
weird.
second-class citizen.
exactly. Even though
but
they
not
have-
though, because they're way more important than a regular citizen.
So a regular Imperial citizen's like an 8th class citizen.
Oh, for sure.
these
They don't
guys are
know.
like-
Eighth.
they're-
What are you talking about? That's way too high.
So these guys are like a 5th class citizen.
But
The
they
Algorins are like
truly-
a first-class citizen.
Yeah.
Just
But no, truly, there is like a weird mix of like necessity. You need us. We're wealthy. We can command so much respect, and yet Nobody really wants
Yeah,
the
people talk
Navigators.
about them behind
There's
their
lots
back.
of people who would just blame the Navigators if they had the chance because they're a mutant.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Right? Like
Yeah.
there is a weird niche that they need to find and fit in. Like they need to
Yeah.
be okay with being outcast while also being in control.
I don't
Yeah.
think they give a fuck. I think they're rich enough and powerful enough. They're like, hey, we're just gonna have our own little bubble. They probably just live in a fucking bubble. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of 40K
Yeah.
does that. A lot of 40K
Yeah, makes
exists in a bubble, right? Like
Yeah.
the High Lords of Terra.
yeah, they're self-righteous. Like they
Right.
don't, they
Have
don't
a
need
stick
to
up their ass,
impress.
think you're better than everyone else, kind
Absolutely.
of thing.
Exactly. Yeah,
They don't give a shit what the regular the
And they're
eighth-
legit.
I have
It's like
eighth
a power
class
and influence
citizen.
to do so.
I imagine the Navigator quarter, while beautiful, is like just the snootiest neighborhood there is. Just like all your neighbors are just knobs, or like they'll phone like right at 7 o'clock when the noise complaints can start. They'll phone you if your TV's up a little too loud, fucking walking too heavy or something.
Is that
wanna
like
go there.
is that like Bridgeland in Calgary?
Yeah.
Or like
Kensington.
Kensington, yeah. Like, oh, like you're from Kensington? Like, well,
dirty.
fuck.
Oh, that's an
like,
international reference. Yeah, my
People
friends at
get
home
it.
will get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, perfect. Yeah, great.
Pick up on it.
That's
Google
for all the
Google
for all the
it.
Australian listeners.
Google it. Fuck me.
yeah, but they definitely have to exist and try and stay within that realm. Like
Yeah.
they can't have friends. They can't make friends.
And I don't think they give a shit, honestly.
Right.
They're aristocratic fucking, like, yeah, stick up their asses. Like,
Yeah, they almost seem like nobility from feudal times, where
Yeah,
they're just,
yeah.
or
Yeah.
maybe the clergy, where they're just born better than you.
yeah, it's Game of Thrones. They're all fucking
No,
Lannisters,
for sure.
you know?
That's a
Like,
very
yeah.
good. I mean, like Navis Nobilite. It's literally in their title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Exactly.
are noble.
Yeah, they're fucking Lannisters.
Yeah.
Just fucking, and we're just peasants. Not even peasants.
Plebeians.
You're a peasant. I don't know about the rest of the.
I'll take being a peasant on an agri world. You can go join the guard.
Hey man, life as an orc is good. Okay, I'll be an orc on a beach in Australia.
So the final topic we'll talk about is their relation with the Inquisition.
Yeah, yes. Excellent. Because everybody needs to know that there could be a knife in your back. There is the Ordo Malleus is responsible for looking after the navigation.
The mutants. Isn't it?
No, it's the Warp. They've related them to Warp. Malleus is the like Grey Knights.
The Demon Hunters.
Yeah,
Okay.
demon hunters. So they've fallen under that realm because of their warp power. Even though it's not really psychic, it's still warp related. So
Yeah, it's still like looking into warp and like
you're
it's
still
just-
consorting with warp.
yeah.
It's very real that the warp
Consorting with warp.
very real that the warp could come back in your
Don't laugh. That's enough to get you killed like 6 times over.
No fucking A.
For
Yeah,
even
yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah, but like when we're reading this, it describes it like the Navigators can get away with a lot of stuff. Like they can fucking murder people. They can do hands down the pants. I'm distracted.
Why are you looking at my crotch, Mark?
It's just right there. It's
We're
just,
allowed to jack each other after you're on the podcast.
Hey, you can't tell if you don't advertise. Sorry,
this is a
guys.
family-friendly podcast.
So my bad. Why are you on it?
We've been bleeping all
'cause
your
we're-
swears.
Just because we're in your mom's house. That's all right, man.
But yeah, like they can pretty much get away with anything they want except for like taint.
Like chaos corruption.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are
That's where-
definitely above
Yeah.
everyone else. They have special laws regarding them. They govern themselves.
Like an Arbites, like an Adeptus Arbites cannot like just haul one into a station. Like
yeah,
important.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, they're too important. Like they have this. They're privileged.
They're untouchable.
Hyper
Yeah,
privileged.
exactly.
Super fucking privileged.
Except
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the Inquisition. And even the Inquisition, it said that they cannot go into the Navigators' quarters uninvited.
No, I never read that. I read that they are more. They've even called Patra Novas and taken them away. I've never read that they're not allowed uninvited.
I'm sure there's a lot more
I'll find it.
tiptoeing and a lot more planning in the operation. I'm sure it's almost like when they went to go get Bin Laden there, where they just fucking go in, get the Nobilite, and then get the fuck out before anyone else in the district has really realizes that something's up.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Just a snatch and grab. Don't even tell them.
True style.
The thing that I was way more interested about was that when a problem was going to arise in the Navigator houses, they dealt with it like extremely efficiently and like without prejudice. Like they are destroying everything that might attract the Ordo Malleus. Like they do not want the Ordo Malleus anywhere near, so they get rid of anything that might even attract the Inquisition into their like into their affairs because they don't want
They don't want the heat. They don't want the attention.
yeah, but it still sounded to me like they recognize that the Inquisition, like they are still under the Inquisition because technically no one is above the Inquisition.
Correct. Inquisition at the end of the day is ultimate authority. They can,
Right.
they're
Yeah.
the FBI of the world. They can do what
Right,
they
and,
want. Yeah.
and like I did read in here that like they have brought Patra Novas to like
Yeah. Wow.
like
That's
in.
interesting.
And so that's a High Lord of Terra.
Yeah.
Right there, that
Yeah.
they're more than willing to say like no, like you can't function anymore. So
Yeah.
I definitely know I definitely agree with you on the fact that they don't want them in there, but I don't know if they're not allowed to go.
I thought
in
I read
there.
that, but I could have misread that.
I don't know, and I can't find exactly what it is that
You
I
know,
wanna
even if
find
they're not
either,
allowed,
but-
do you think that would really stop the Inquisition from just kicking indoors? I feel like they'll just do it, and
Correct, yeah.
it's easier for to ask
Depending
for,
on the Inquisitor, right?
It's
Some
easier
of
to-
them might not, but
Yeah.
some of them definitely are a little more hot-headed than others.
It's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission, kind of thing.
well, forgiveness in that point would probably be death.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying the Inquisition are going to do what they want. And I think it's interesting because it's like, under what context would Inquisitor have to go track down a Navigator? I mean, other than heavy corruption, maybe they're doing something wrong.
Well, that's,
Okay,
the,
so-
that's
be
it. That's
chaos,
the
maybe.
only thing, right? Because they're
'Cause-
specifically Ordo
yeah.
Malleus. They're not Ordo Hereticus
Sure.
or like Ordo Xenos.
Order Xenos, right?
So here's what I read on Lexicanum. The Navis Nobilite pay for the security of its own palaces, and the Inquisition is forbidden from entering unless they're invited or a flagrant violation. So
Whoa.
you have to be doing something really fucking
Flagrant
bad.
violation.
Okay,
Flagrant
sure,
violation.
This is
but
a backdoor. This is a
that
backdoor.
seems to be
Yeah.
all. That seems to be all that the Inquisition, because it's the Ordo Malleus. That
Yes.
seems to be the only reason they would ever go there in the first place.
but like
they're not going over there for dinner parties.
No, but like
to roll
they
dice.
can't even go there under
Just roll blunts.
suspicion. Like they knock up on the door, like they have the whole list of crimes. They have
They
all
need
the proof
warrants and
ready.
shit.
But do you-
like it is not they.
Okay, I
like,
agree with you 100%,
So-
but I think there's a very good reason as to why that's the only way they'd be allowed.
Yeah.
Because any other suspicion, the Navis Nobilite is stomping that out. They are not
Sure.
letting any kind of suspicious acts get
Sure.
out at all.
Yeah, but
and so
you-
the only time that the Ordo Malleus even hears about something bad wrong,
Yeah.
it's fucking bad, and everybody
Oh,
knows about it anyway.
Absolutely, but
Yeah.
It still stands that
Like
to some
suspicions
degree.
don't even exist with them.
Yeah, but like there's lots of times where Inquisitors will just purge entire planets because they don't want to deal with the potential. Like you can't do
just
that.
can't
No.
take-
you
just
can't.
take
Like you
the
need that
chance.
proof. Like
Sometimes
for the
you gotta
main-
purge a planet.
now, keep in mind this is for the ones on Terra itself.
Yeah, that's
So-
a good distinction to make because I'm thinking like, man, some backwater world with
Yeah.
a shitty
yeah.
shrouded house.
I,
Yeah, yeah.
I think we both agree on
Some
the
renegade,
topic.
Yeah,
some
we
renegade
do, but-
house.
But we both have to have the last word.
I'm right.
Actually,
I
No,
don't
if you
know
listen
words.
carefully, viewers, I'm actually right.
Don't know any
We
words.
definitely just view the Inquisition a little differently than each other, and that's
Yeah.
the main thing here. But we both agree that they are, for the most part, above scrutiny.
Yeah, and they can do what they want
Yeah.
with good enough reason. But anywho, I
Yeah.
think
That's-
It's
I
even
think-
a pretty wishy-washy reason's good enough.
for anybody except for navigators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you exist in the 41st millennium. You have the option to be a Navigator. Would you take it?
Can I be a magisterial one? Can I keep my body the way it is, or am I a fish person?
Absolutely.
You're going to have a way better life than 99.99% of everyone else in the Imperium. I'm
Yeah.
taking it.
Strong argument.
Yeah.
What about you,
Your,
Mark?
your chances of getting laid are pretty high.
Yep.
Like they're gonna want to. They're gonna want to keep more navigators around. So if I've got the navigator gene,
Yep.
even if I look like a butthole, I'm still gonna get laid.
Yep.
So that's
By another butthole.
that
a
is
yes?
like your
So
that's your driving force. Is
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
am I going to have sex in the 41st millennium?
well, yeah,
It's like he's like, hey,
Holy
would you
shit.
be an orc? Am I going to have sex as an orc? Would you be a necron? Am I going to have sex as a necron? That's what it all comes
would
back
you be
to.
a
for you.
Slaneshi cultist?
oh, he's in.
It's making up for lost
give me
fucking-
all of the extra titties, please.
So your answer is yes?
Yes.
And what about you, Mark?
So my answer would be yes, but if I was given like if I could be anything in
Yeah.
40K, it would not be in my top 5.
No,
No.
Okay.
agreed on that.
Yeah.
but they definitely have a better life than everybody else.
Yeah,
like
it's-
you
Nah,
could,
fuck that.
it's like you could round it up to the point of where you could say they have a better life than 100% of the Imperium.
Exactly. So like if it was
Basically,
like
yes.
yeah, you could roll a dice and randomly become anything in the Imperium, or you could be a navigator. I would take the navigator.
Oh my
for
God!
sure.
Yes.
Oh, well,
because
yeah,
you're gonna
it's
lose on
likely.
everything.
But
other.
it's not.
yeah.
If I had the choice, I would.
The
not.
question is, like, is it
my
appealing?
luck, I'd be like a servitor that
Oh,
cleans
again, the
The
toilets.
question is it appealing? And you could be something default, but like you have the choice of being that.
It is a kind of cool thing. Like,
Is it
to be
appealing
able
enough to
like-
want?
No.
No.
No, and I'm with Mark on that one. I don't think it's
really.
appealing. Like,
There's definitely cooler things I would rather
Yeah,
be
exactly.
than a
For sure.
navigator.
What do you think, Dylan?
I think your nightmares would be fucked. I think if you're
So
that's a
looking,
very good.
You're in for it.
I think
then.
if you're looking into
Sign
the
Dylan
warp,
up for 400 years.
I think when you're looking at the warp like that, I think it's a beautiful, terrible thing, and I think it probably one day breaks you. I don't know. I think it probably does more damage to your psyche and your personality and your character as a whole. I think there's probably better
I
and
think
cooler.
that's why you're like a solitary person, right? Like, because no one else understands what it is you're going through.
Yeah, I guess. And I don't know.
Being a filthy
That's not an
mutant
appealing way to
doesn't
live.
help
Not for
either.
you.
Not for me. Not for me. No, I just want to bash things with my chopper. So I get my slugger and my chopper and just go sail the stars.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I think that's
I think that about rounds up Navis Nobilite.
Fucking navigators. Let's go navigate our way to
yeah.
somewhere.
To the next podcast.
I don't know what he said.
Someone else is going to jump in there.
We'll just navigate our way to the next podcast.
Speaking of that,
Due out anytime between 1 to 6 weeks.
so our next episode is going to wrap up kind of like our space travel series that we've kind of been doing. It's going to be on the Astronomicon.
No, the Astronomicon.
The Astronomicon, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my.
The Astronomicon. And yeah, send us your questions if you have some questions. We usually do Facebook posts, but we haven't done any the last couple times. So we'll try to do that again because I like the listener questions
Yeah, they can be fun. A lot of
Yeah.
times I find what's really funny is we answer them.
pre-episode or before the questions.
Yeah, like in the episode.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
we have the
But
same questions that we're going to go over. But every once in a while, there's a
get a good
really
one.
cool one.
Well, that should be the challenge.
I-
Think of a question that you don't think is going to be answered.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess
Exactly.
I didn't really talk about this with Mark, but like we used to do this thing called Tales of the Warp.
I am the podcast.
Oh boy, we used to do this thing where at the end of the episode we would have like opinion topics where we
Kind of like what we did just right
exactly
now.
kind of just what we did. Like,
Yeah.
do you think? And those questions are way more fascinating to me than like how does the Astronomicon work?
Yeah,
Because
'cause
we're gonna go
obviously
over
we're
that.
gonna-
Kermit's back. Oh, yeah.
if you can think of a question that like is going to cause us to pause and reflect upon an answer and really
Yeah.
come up with like an opinion and a reason for something,
Yeah.
those are going to be my favorite questions ever. And
Yeah,
I
so
will
send
send
us
you
your
feet
questions.
pics if you send me good
Oh, God,
answers.
not this again.
I'll send feet pics.
We'll send you nudes if you make if you stump us.
No.
Yeah, that
No
nerd shit
nudes.
is boring.
Are you going to provide the nudes?
Well, this is like
This is
Google.
2019.
Yeah,
Are we
everyone's
gonna
got
get
nudes.
Kermit to provide?
Oh my god,
Kermit, would you be willing to provide nudes?
that's expensive.
He's in.
Oscar opinions, guys. Yeah.
But I would love questions.
Yeah.
It's,
So we'll do a post sooner than later. So it'll be up so people can actually think about it. But yeah, check that out. Check us out on Facebook page, Twitter. I've been doing like Instagram live posts where I'm just painting, talking to people. So if you want to actually,
it's been like every night, God, Mark.
well, I took a week off because I had.
and then there was that one
issues.
night.
Oh,
Maybe,
fuck.
maybe.
The one night me
If
and
you're
Dylan
lucky.
did it in the hot tub. If
Yeah.
you want to talk to us like face to face or whatever, it's been great getting to know some people like that. So yeah, check us out on social media. Send us questions. I don't know. Do whatever you want. Fuck it.
And support us so we can continue getting people like Kermit the Frog here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your Patreon,
Patreon.
donations that get the guest visitors like Kermit.
Yeah, that's how we roll in the big people, the big stars, as they say. Anyways, thanks for listening, guys. Thank you, Steve, for joining us.
No problem.
It was,
Thank you, Mark, for driving me out here.
Yep.
It was fun.
It's not like I had an option, but
It was fun. It's clearly this is a topic that you were at least mostly familiar with. It's cool to find other people that actually care about the story and they're not just into the meta of the game. There's a couple people,
fucking weird Australians that just move here. And
right?
fucking
Well,
yell
that
at
just
you.
weirds me out. A
I don't know
little bit.
anything about Warhammer.
Thank
I'm just
you.
making this shit up.
Thank you,
like his
Dylan.
face.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank
I
you, Dylan,
appreciate-
for
Sorry,
coming.
What was that?
I said thank you, Dylan, for
said
coming
what?
on our show.
Where do you want me to come?
Okay.
Skeet skeet.
Thanks for coming on our show. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Oh, you'll see
You
me again.
Bring a very dynamic.
Yeah, goddamn right.
energy.
you bring a very Australian energy to it. We'll call it that.
Won't be the last time. You guys will be lost without me. It's all right. We'll keep this
That's
going.
true. Anyways,
You're like our
guys,
navigator.
thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next episode.
Peasy nerd.